Yes, hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. We have a great live stream planned today. We're going back into Fulton County. We've got some body cam footage that has been released. We're looking forward to that because the Democrats are absolutely panicked, freaked out over the fact that the FBI went in, got their hands on the documents, and will be perusing them to identify massive amounts of fraud that we know exists inside. We also have subpoenas that have now been issued by a state senator, Greg Dolezal, a guy we've covered a lot here, sending documents over to Nathan Wade and others to haul them in and ask them questions about their involvement now that we're learning a lot more about the cover-up that was underway there in Georgia. We have them throwing the Constitution in our faces, saying, you can't come into our state and tell us how to run our elections. And of course, they leave out all of the other portions of the Constitution that says exactly the opposite of that. In fact, that Congress can pass laws for states and that the president, as the executioner of those laws, has an obligation to enforce them. So we'll spend some time in Fulton, got some documents queued up, and reaction to this, Mark Elias is flipped, Chuck Schumer's flipped, Caroline Leavitt was out today pushing back on their nonsense. Then we'll turn our attention over to Minnesota because Jacob Frey, the mayor out there, was on with CNN and they asked him a very interesting question that he didn't know how to answer. And he kind of just blah, 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 squirmed in his seat for a little bit and then exited scene. And we also know that there are illegal aliens killing and murdering people all over the entire country. And we'll talk about the SAVE Act. And one of the biggest Antifa goons who was out there screaming on the camera, lecturing, screaming at Pam and everybody, this is democracy. We're fighting fascism, blah, blah, blah. Come and get me, effing, effing, effing. He got arrested. They did come and get him. And so we'll go through the complaint and see what else is percolating out there in Minnesota. And so it's going to be a beautiful stream, my friends. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing and all the things. We're excited to get to it. We had a great members only stream this morning too. We talked about some fun stuff this morning. So if you'd like to join as a member, we'd love to see you tomorrow on the members only morning stream. But we've got a little bit of a new format here on the screen. Let me know what you think. Trying to level things up around here, A lot of other channels are nice and beautiful. We're trying to get beautified as well. But let's get into it. Body camera footage released in Fulton County. This gentleman from the FBI was there on scene during the FBI raid, the lawful execution of a search warrant to go and retrieve fraudulent suspected files. And we'll see exactly what went down in this video, but it comes to us courtesy of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And they have been doing some good reporting. They got presumably the entire body cam. They just gave us a little bit of a snippet there. But they also gave us a nice recap of everything that went down the day of the raid. They had been reporting on it. This just dropped yesterday. And so we'll go through it in detail before we see that Greg Dolezal, the senator in Georgia, just sent subpoenas to Fanny's lover. Remember this fella right here? That's Nathan Wade. And he just is probably thinking that he escaped all of this blast zone. That didn't happen. So we'll see what the subpoena says. We'll hear from Greg Dolezal, and we'll talk about one of the dumbest secretaries of state in the entire planet, the guy over in Georgia called Gabriel Sterling, who is selectively quoting the Constitution for us, which we don't appreciate, and trying to pass it off as though that's the end of the story, and they can do whatever they want in Georgia. That's not how it works. So we'll go through it all, but the body cam dropped. You can see AJC Politics, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, explain that there was some confusion at the outset. And we heard reporting about this, that we had maybe a warrant that said they should be in a different building. And they went and they said, we're here at elections and we want the files. And I said, well, we don't have them. They're over at the clerk's office. And so they had to go back and kind of revise the warrant, but they did that and they left with the documents. So they got the footage. Fulton police and the FBI in the footage are kind of sparring over the access and the scope of the warrant. We can piece it together here. Footage was captured by Fulton County police officers. So the local cops showed up as they escorted top county officials and milled about the cavernous Union City elections hub. Now, the videos that they obtained late on Monday in response to an open records request shows that in the first hours after the agents arrived, county officials were largely compliant, even as they expressed concern that the search warrant the FBI came to execute needed to be modified. And so here's the footage. We'll read through the rest of what happened, but this is what Atlanta Journal-Constitution is sharing with us today.
So we have the right to be here, and we're being very, we've been very nice.
So did anybody get a physical copy of the search warrant? No. When did they get here?
About 12:30.
Just unannounced?
Unannounced.
I'm gonna try and have the names of everybody that was out here. I already know how it's gonna go, but I mean, if they refuse, that's on them. Thank you. All right, so we were given very limited information.
So we have a search warrant for this, like literally the entire location.
Okay.
But now we're going to get amending another search warrant for another location involved.
Okay.
Another.
So we'll have that pretty soon. So
This is all in regards to election side stuff?
where you know where we're here, right? So I can't discuss more.
I got you.
More than that, but as long as we keep, the big thing is just trying to keep media. Someone let media in here and keep media clear out of here.
What's happening now is that their warrant is wrong. It had the wrong, it's not in elections possession, it's in clerk's possession, so it had the wrong department.
So on our end, nobody received a copy of...
The attorneys asked them for it, they finally gave them a copy. Then the attorney's like, it's wrong, so they're allegedly waiting for the judge to update it.
What was wrong on there? It was
It
labeled
didn't say, it just says, elections, which we don't have, in which they knew that before they got here.
The warrant will be amended slightly, but for all intents and purposes, what they had is what it's going to look like. We wanted to let her facilitate us moving through the building to unlock the gates so that we don't have to breach it, because one way or the other, the records are coming with us today.
Yeah, one way or another, the records are coming with us today. So not too much going on in there other than a little bit of confusion. And I don't know if the search warrant was wrong or if it wasn't just expansive enough, right? They showed up at one building, we're taking everything. Well, there's other stuff over here. Well, we're taking that too. So let's go back to the judge in Missouri, and the judge in Missouri will just expand the scope. They did that, but for all intents and purposes, we're leaving with the files. Don't think that we're not leaving with the files. We got trucks here. We're loading them up. So you can assist us right now, or we can just breach the gates and just go in there and take what we need. So the story explains that we're going to fight all that later. A county attorney, a prosecutor in Fulton, showed up. Her name is Sue Jew, told an officer who raised questions about this that the situation was screwed up. She said, right now we are complying, let them do their thing, said the lawyer, the prosecutor, county attorney there. Officer cameras were recording as Fulton Clerk Courts, Che Alexander, clerk of the courts, told the council chairman and the county attorney that the warrant she initially received wasn't really clear about what you can take. Cameras were still recording as everyone alike scrutinized the warrant. They're all looking at this thing. They captured the FBI officials as they explained. Said, we're talking to a federal judge right now. They're having some computer problems back in Missouri. They explained that when the first warrant was written, they hadn't realized that the clerk of the court, not the county elections board, had the records. FBI didn't respond to a request for comment. Here's an FBI agent inside the building on the day of the raid. But as the Fulton people said, they talked with Peter Ellis, the guy that we just saw on camera, or the acting head of FBI Atlanta. It was clear that a sense of cooperation could sour at any moment. If they don't cooperate, we're going to just break the doors in. Now, Ellis said that he was letting county officials stay in the building as a courtesy. I don't have to let you be here, but if you want to just sit here and observe, that's fine. Now, when Joe said that they were simply there to observe, an agent said that he didn't want agents to be observed. They were adamant that the media and anyone taking video was not welcome. And when someone walked up to the camera, the whole group was told, get out of here. One agent said, I want to remind you that this is a criminal search warrant. And this location is kind of restricted at this point. And it's not because you want them to get out and, stop recording you, but you don't want them interfering with your operation. You don't want people rummaging around. Maybe they would start a signal group and just go stand next to the agents. Oh, what file are you looking at? Oh, what file is that? Oh, what's that? Oh, get out of here. This is a federal investigation, just like a house or anywhere else. Everything is sealed up. Get out. Now, Ellis added a moment later, he said, we have the right to be here. A judge said we should be here, and we've been very nice to you. The recordings also show that the feds were willing to take the records by force if they had to. In another video, an unidentified county staffer made clear that it was not an idle threat. He told an officer that he returned to the warehouse from a task offsite and he came upon agents with cutting tools and all of that, including a big saw. Let's go. Walking through the building, Alexander from Fulton told Joe and Pitts, the other two Fulton people, that the FBI's tone had initially struck her as rude. Oh, she's offended. She said that she was willing to unlock the storage cages that had the 2020 ballots, but didn't want to hand over records in her custody without knowing what it is you're looking for. I don't want you taking any other things. She says, well, they didn't really care about that. You're not in charge. You're not the judge. They said they'll just break the lock and take them. You can open it or not. We don't care. In a separate video, the cameras were also recording as a federal agent seemed to confirm her account. He remarked that Alexander had said that she was scared to come to the facility because she didn't believe that the agents, when they said that they were calling from the FBI, they say, hey, we're from the FBI. We're here to do a search warrant. She's like, no, you're not. Yeah, we are with the FBI. I don't believe it. They said one way or another, the records are coming with us today. Now they did. More than 650 boxes of ballots were packed into rented box trucks. We watched it. It was glorious. And taken to an undisclosed location. Now it's unclear if the county will challenge the warrant. They already have. They've already filed a complaint. Don't know what the complaint exactly is. Rob Pitts from yesterday said that they were suing. All of it still under seal. Waiting for those documents to come out soon. Now, Pitts, the council chairman, responded. He said, we're taking our time to develop whatever legal strategy may be needed. Other investigators, election's perfect, but skeptics have made Fulton's ballots the subject of litigation for more than 5 years. And they've been stonewalling us this entire time. A lot of good people out there in Fulton really digging in on this. And the judges and the inspector generals, the people who were supposed to be investigating this, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations lead, they didn't do it. Brian Kemp, according to them, said you got to be a team player. And if you're going to be on my team, you're not going to investigate election fraud. Then what did Kemp do? Appointed them to judgeships, made them basically untouchable, elevated them so that, it's hard to subpoena a judge. It's a judge. Now, the DOJ filed a civil lawsuit back in December, and they didn't comply. And you're having flashbacks to Mar-a-Lago, right? It's like, well, you could have just called Trump's house, and they would have just delivered the files to you. But they didn't. Trump would have handed them over. He already had handed them over. Trump invited the FBI down to Mar-a-Lago to poke around. Then they raided his house. Here, we've been asking for this for years. We've filed a civil lawsuit, and you still won't do anything. And so now we got evidence of a crime. Now it's time to come in. A Fulton County judge ruled that the state election board did have the right to obtain ballot images and other documents, but they'd have to pay for it. Like $400,000, it's a lot. So speaking with an officer during the raid, another elections director, Nadine, we just saw her, speculated that those groups were using the FBI to get him for free, whatever. Now, a federal judge just signed off on this. The affidavit, I'm sure, wasn't like, we just want to save a couple $100,000. And the judge was like, sure, yeah, go get them. She says, I think we destroyed the ballots. She says, I think they think we destroyed the ballots, but we didn't. And so if you want to take 700 ballots of boxes, have at it. So they can go make paper airplanes for all I care. Oh, well, she doesn't seem like she cares, but the rest of them are absolutely freaked and panicked. We're not going to be making paper airplanes. We are going to be identifying, though, whether there were actual creases in the ballots that you said were mailed out. And many people thought that there were not. They just got big stacks of Biden ballots, all absentee. So the FBI raid significantly escalated the fight. Trump said that people would soon be prosecuted for what they did. And Rob Pitts yesterday, great press conference, said that he was getting leaks from the FBI or somebody explaining that arrests are coming and they're coming soon. So it also revealed a broader strategy. Election integrity is happening all over the country, and they are melting down, which is just great news because they're fraudsters. Now, elsewhere, you saw Senator Greg Dolezal. He said, dun, 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 subpoenas have been issued. The Georgia Senate Special Committee on Investigations has subpoenaed Fani Willis's special prosecutor and lover called Nathan Wade and the assistant DA called Jeff DeSantis. Amazing. So they're ordered to appear February 13th, one day before Valentine's Day. Fani Willis is like, you better be home by tomorrow, all right? Because we're going to the Bahamas on a cruise. Georgians deserve answers about how big Fani, the biggest Fani in all of Georgia, maybe the Southeast, ran a politicized prosecution funded by taxpayers and riddled with conflict. So Nathan is going to get another subpoena, and he thought he was out of this game. He's, he got his 700 G's, got his mileage out of Fannie, and was going to retire into the sunset. Not anymore. Bring your booty back here. And in particular, we've got questions about what his grand jury testimony with Senator Perdue at the time resulted in, if anything. Because Perdue went over to Nathan Wade during the grand jury proceedings, covered this yesterday, and said, we have a significant amount of irregularities that are very problematic. I've got damning evidence that I've already passed over to the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations. Have they done anything with it? Oh, yeah, they said an investigation was done. But what did they actually do? Did they actually look at anything? Turns out, no, because Brian Kemp put pressure on the investigator and the inspector general to not investigate this any further, and they didn't, and they became judges in perpetuity as a result of their cooperation. So Wade just got hit with a subpoena, and Dolezal was out. He was explaining, during my 4 hours of questioning of Big Fanny, her unhinged behavior was on full display, and boy, was it unhinged. She came in there with that fur coat and that like $11,000 purse or whatever it was, slammed it on the ground and just started screaming at everybody on the committee. Now we've subpoenaed Nathan, her lover, wonder what she thinks, who was on the phone with Biden's White House for 8 hours, and they hired Jack Smith to go after President Trump. So they were getting information passed to them. Nathan Wade and Fannie, they are not smart enough for a 19-case defendant RICO case. So Jack Smith had to give it to him. The J6 committee had to give it to him. They just passed all that information over, and then they gave it to corrupt DAs like Fannie and Tish and Alvin, and they all prosecuted the president. Georgia voters deserve the truth, and boy, is it coming. Good to hear. Here's Dolezal.
Well, we learned that she's an unhinged lunatic, first and foremost. And if you saw any of that testimony, it was 4 hours. I conducted the questioning, and she unhinged is the only adjective that I can use to describe her.
That's just amazing. Sometimes
here's what we learned.
Sometimes they just hit it, man. And you don't expect that coming from like a state senator or a politician. That's amazing.
Rick, specifically, we learned that on the day that Jack Smith was appointed by Biden to go after Trump, that Nathan Wade, who was the special prosecutor that Willis hired, that she had a personal relationship with, that he was on the phone that day, according to his billing records, for 8 hours with the White House. We know that he made a trip to D.C. He magically can't remember who he met with in his White House deposition. Willis has no idea who they met with, allegedly, in D.C. There's massive cases of amnesia now here in Atlanta, but what we do know is there was some level of J6 coordination with Willis, and we know that there was some sort of White House coordination. And I can break the news on your show tonight, Rick, that we issued subpoenas today from the Georgia State Senate to subpoena Nathan Wade and Jeff DeSantis, who's the deputy district attorney working under Fonnie Willis. And they have been ordered to appear a week from Friday before the state Senate to testify under oath.
Amazing. Shout out to Greg Dolezal. And what's so interesting is, remember, Nathan also, I think, billed for like 24 hours at a time, didn't even take a pee break. Or he was peeing and pooping, and he was like also doing legal documents. He's like, hold on a minute, I'm just kind of squirming around in there. Don't think so. They're all fraudulent, and we've got even more of that coming up. Even their housing coordinator was stealing money to pay for her rents coming up soon. So all that happened, and of course, Fulton and the Atlanta Journal, they're continuing to try to piece together what the latest is. So as of 4 hours ago, they said Fulton County took action to go get the files back. Commissioner Rob Pitts announced that yesterday. We covered the whole thing. FBI agents loaded up trucks. Remember, Kevin Moncla, somebody we've covered his work for a long time, awesome attorney, activist down there, wrote reports summarizing all these things. He says that he was talking with U.S. attorneys over the phone about some of these accusations, right? So the boots on the ground. We've seen many awesome attorneys and activists down there kind of at the epicenter of the fraud. And he was on the phone with the attorneys. Moncla said that at least one other person who contributed to the report also spoke to federal officials. And so I remember, man, the last 4 years, all these people are digging, and you just stop working on it. Forget about it. Okay, it's over. It's lost. It's over. They kept digging. Now they're on the phone with the prosecutors fighting for justice. Let's go. Moncla said at least one other person called and talked on the phone. The conversations offer a glimpse into how this whole thing is going. He has a contentious history with all this. One board member said there will be no more excuses. In 2023, the state board asked the FBI to investigate him after he sent emails to them saying, will you please investigate this fraud? They said, how dare you harass us? Biden, FBI, 2023. Can you go arrest this man and harass him and make his life hell, just like they did to many people who were on the Trump side? Wrecked their lives. Not only Trump, right? They tried to throw him off the ballot, put him in prison, shoot him in the head, bankrupt him, all the things. But they also went after everybody else. The 18 other co-defendants, guys like Jeff Clark, their licenses under attack. It's nonstop. So then he identifies exactly the problem, sends them an email. They say, you should go to jail for that. How dare you rub our noses in the fraud? How dare you? So they said there will be no excuses. They responded to him. I'm putting you on notice that I will be holding you accountable. He wrote in an email to them, you can either properly investigate or complaints, or I'm going to show you out publicly in the media. Now, the composition of that board has changed a lot since then, and now they're digging into that as well, with new appointees more open to these claims and investigations. Trump, of course, focusing on this. Bongino was also talking about this, former deputy director. He said, you're going to see something in Georgia where they were able to get, with the court order and the ballots, you're going to see some interesting things come out. All right. So the president also suggested that legal experts have described as an unprecedented move. Yeah, they're all shocked about this. Pitts is a Democrat, saying we should focus on future elections. We don't have to look backwards. No, it's over and done. Just accept it. No, we're not accepting it. And we're not moving on. This is about our self-governance. And Greg Dolezal, the senator, we clipped this out in a video we posted on a Sunday, but I wanted to share a little bit of it with you if you missed it. He was also explaining UPS stores, vacant buildings, illegal addresses. That's what's sitting on their voter rolls. Okay, so not only are the ballots bad, but the people signing up to get the ballots are also problematic. And so just a little bit of this, if you missed it, he says, I raised the alarm on the Senate floor earlier, and today the receipts are public. Here's Dolezal and this video walking us through exactly what happened.
All right, y'all. Yesterday, I made a serious allegation on the floor of the Georgia State Senate that Fulton County's voter rolls have been, and continue to be a complete mess. And today we're going to bring you the receipts. Currently in the state of Georgia, it is illegal to be registered to vote from anywhere other than your primary residence.
Not legal.
Can't register to vote at UPS stores, can't register to vote at homeless shelters, can't register to vote under an overpass. But today, and this is as of the January 5th Fulton County voter rolls, about 70 people are registered to vote right here. We're going to bring you a couple more locations to show you that this is not an anomaly. Fulton County has got to get their act together. All right, y'all, this is 850 Oak Street in Fulton County, and there are 19 people registered to vote at this abandoned house. And so again, this is on the Fulton County Registrar. They've got to clean up their voting rolls. This is not a new problem. And remember, back in 2020, absentee ballot request forms were sent to every single registered voter, including at locations just like this.
Okay, so 19 ballots show up there. 79 ballots, or whatever that number was, showed up at the UPS store. These are just like $100 bills just flying around everywhere. I mean, an election is invaluable. Can't put a price tag on that. So if you have a system where you're just dumping this out everywhere, and you have an operation like Senator Perdue was complaining about to Brian Kemp and to the GBI and to Scott McAfee, who are all now judges except Kemp, they can go pick up and round up those ballots. It's called ballot harvesting, and they just fill them out. Nobody checks. Nobody's checking the poll tapes before you start counting, so you don't even know if they're zeroed out. Then you don't count them at the end of the count, close them out to validate it. Then you have hundreds of thousands of ballots that just show up out of nowhere. It's all a scam. Here's more.
All right, so we are at 1445 Woodmont Lane, physicaladdress.com. 138 people registered to vote, but I've got a treat for you. This is Jason Frazier. Jason, come on in the frame here. Jason is the guy that's done all of the heavy lifting on this. He and David Kate are the two folks that brought this to my attention. Jason, how hard was it to figure out that you had thousands of people in Fulton County registered to vote from illegal voting locations?
It's not that difficult. The hardest part is getting a copy of the voter rolls. I mean, not everybody wants to spend $485 for the statewide voter roll, but essentially once you get it, just sort it based on number of people at one address. And this one jumped real far out of the page because there's 138 people registered to vote here. And when we turn the camera, you'll see it's just it looks like it used to be a house, but now it's a commercial virtual mailbox. So I can't fathom there's 138 beds in that house,
No,
so
not.
they can't be registered to vote there.
Here's the thing, Jason, that's really compelling to me. The county has every piece of zoning information. They know this is a commercial location.
Yeah, of course.
They obviously can do easy database sorting and searching. You also, though, have identified 1,000 people that were born in the year 1900 that are on the Fulton County voter rolls. You've identified a couple hundred other people that very much seem to be the same person, same name, same address. I'm sorry, same date of birth.
Yeah.
And tell us about some of that.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of folks across Georgia who show 1800 or 1900 as their date of birth, which means
1800?
what I've heard is that means they don't know their date of birth. If Fulton County or anywhere in the state, they don't know your date of birth, how can they be checking to see if you're a legal resident? And a lot of these, we were talking about the duplicates, they'll have two people registered at the same address with the same year of birth in slight variations of their name. So maybe it's Bob and Robert, maybe it's Bob and Bob. And it's clearly the same person at that address. But if you've got typos in somebody's name and you don't know their date of birth, how in the world do we know they're a U.S. citizen? And that just needs to be cleaned up so we can verify everything.
And here's the last thing I'd like to say. The fact that people like Jason and David and, a number of other people from Derek Somerville to Mark Davis to Philip Davis have had to do this kind of work on their own is frankly absurd. The Fulton County Registrar, this is their job. They are the ones that are supposed to keep the voter rolls clean. And like I've said before, and Fonnie Willis got mad when I said it, it's always Fulton County. And Fulton County has got to get their act cleaned up. Jason, thank you for the work that you guys have done. Super, super grateful.
Thank you.
I'm going to head to the next location. And I think we're heading next to maybe a homeless shelter.
Perfect.
Ironically, there's a homeless shelter across the street from the Capitol with 1,900 people.
Yeah,
Wow.
they've had as many as 2,300, 2,400 is most I've seen. And I mean, you can go right on their website. They don't have that many beds. This is a problem.
Okay, homeless people are not living there, and they're getting ballots to the tune of thousands of ballots delivered to the homeless shelters. So you can just continue to add up the numbers. That was one UPS store, like 79. Add that time, multiply that by every UPS store. Then add in all the fake addresses. Then add in all the homeless shelters. Then add in all the 1800s birthed people and 1900s people. And then all the duplicates. Then all the illegal aliens. You get to that 11,700 number, which was the margin of victory for allegedly Joe. Very quickly, very quickly.
All right, this is 477 Peachtree Street. There's 70 people registered to vote here. It's a homeless shelter that closed in 2017.
Oh, there's no beds there. Nobody's residing there. So ballots can't go there.
All right, y'all, here we are, 2625 Piedmont, another UPS store, 96 registered voters right here in direct violation of Georgia law. Not hard to find for us, apparently pretty hard to find for Fulton County.
Well, Fanny, you're asking a lot of her to look at a spreadsheet and do a sort function or like a filter or something. Woo. I don't know that that's going to happen. But shout out to Greg Dolezal for digging into that, man. And it is something that guys like this, Gabriel Sterling, the Secretary of State, should be investigating. He calls himself a conservative, but he has an embarrassing understanding of the United States Constitution. We're going to explain why. But he's the Georgia Secretary of State, and he said this after the raid occurred. He said, "As your Secretary of State, I will always fight for Georgia." Not really. Can't even sort a spreadsheet, apparently. "There should never be a federal takeover of our elections." What is that? That's his word. Federal takeover. "I will never allow this, regardless of the party of the administration in power." And let me just show you how dishonest this man is. He's running for re-election. He wants your vote. He should not get it because he's, in my opinion, a liar. Here he writes the following, and he puts his stupid logo on here with his little glasses like he's so intelligent and an astute analyst of U.S. law. Here he writes the following. "The United States Constitution," this is accurate. It says Article 1, Section 4. Remember, the time, place, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. And if you've been with our channel for a while, you know, ooh, we screamed about that section, that clause, for ages back during COVID. Because remember what happened during COVID? Guys like Mark Elias and his law firm, they would sue another liberal group in a state. So a private party, like Retired Alliance of Michigan, okay, some nonprofit NGO, there were dozens of them, they would sue the blue secretaries of state, and the secretaries of state would enter into settlement agreements with the blue litigators. So blue on blue, little patty cake game. Then they would enter into a settlement agreement, and the settlement agreement would do all sorts of illegal things. It would change the election rules outside of the power of the legislature. Okay, a judge and a private litigant and a blue secretary of state who's not in the legislature would all collude together, change the rules, say, oh yeah, ballot drop boxes, throw those everywhere. Because if you go into a polling place during COVID, you'll die, remember? And then they extended deadlines. And I think it was Wisconsin that waived signature requirements. You could just go online and register to vote. Because of all of these settlement agreements, all of that was bypassing the state legislature. We remember. So we know this phrase very well. We've covered it at length when we were screaming about 2020 6 years ago. But here, you'll notice that he leaves out a very important feature of this clause. What is it? Lying Sterling? Here is the second half of the actual clause, right here. Oh, how come that wasn't in your little stupid meme with your glasses on it? Maybe you should increase your prescriptions there so you can actually read it. Of course, the first part of the clause says, yeah, the time, place, and manner of holding elections for senators and reps shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. Got it. That's all he put for us there. But then he left out the second half. And it says, but, right there, but the Congress, the United States Congress, may at any time by law pass statutes and can make or alter such regulations except as to the places of choosing of senators, which of course was modified by the 17th Amendment later. So he says that the state essentially has absolute unfettered plenary power to do whatever the hell they want, leaves out the entire second half of the clause that says, oh, actually Congress can regulate the elections, which is what they've been doing forever. So it's very dishonest. He knows what he's doing, but he's a dishonest person. And the second half matters because Congress has passed a bunch of laws. And if he wants to poke around to the other portions of the constitutions, we'll help him out since he can't read. But there's also Article 1, Section 5. In other words, what happens if a state like Georgia is just completely rigged? You've got Fannie, you've got Kemp, you've got Nathan Wade, you've got Sterling, who can't read. You've got Scott McAfee, the inspector general. You have other GBI lead investigator, all of them rigging it. Do you just have to sit there and accept it because of that one clause in the Constitution? No, in fact, the Constitution says not at all. Each house shall be the judge of the elections and the returns. And they get to decide the validity, right? So Congress can decide whether to accept, for example, Ossoff, the illegal senator, or Senator Reverend Warnock, the other illegal senator. Okay, they could throw them right out. They won't because they're weak and cowardly, but it is in the Constitution. And that is another perspective there on how this whole thing works. It's called a check and balance. The states can't do whatever they want. And here's another section in case he forgot that. The United States in Article 4, Section 4, government shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. And that's what we're demanding here. We actually want to have representation. We actually want our votes to count. And the president executes the laws that Congress passed, just like we saw. But Congress can pass laws. Guess what? There, Sterling, they did. Here's one. It's called the Help America Vote Act. This one's called the National Voter Registration Act. There's two sets of statutes that the president executes because Congress passed the law to tell him to go do that. National Voter Registration Act, passed in 1993, is now law, requires each state to establish federal election voter procedures and driver's license applications and by mail.
Application.
Oh, no, sorry about that. Errant click. mail application in person, and more. And this act, of course, governs elections. It exists. It's a big fat act right there. Congress passed it. The state has to comply with that because Congress passed it there, Sterling. And then here's the other one called HAVA, Help America Vote Act. Wow, another statute that says that we want to do things like this right here, voter identification procedures. You have to comply with statewide voter registration databases. You can't just have people from the 1800s proliferating throughout your spreadsheets because you don't want to read them. There have to be procedures. You have to follow the law. You don't just get to say, well, we're just going to hold an election. Everybody can just come in with some Skittles and just throw one in there and we'll count it, whatever, and just elect people to the federal office without any oversight at all. So he's a dishonest person, and he only puts half of it out. It's not any different than when they say, the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship. They say, all persons born or naturalized are citizens. And they like skip over the subject to the jurisdiction thereof. You can't just lop off inconvenient clauses there, Gabriel. And he's running for election again, and he should be ashamed of himself for trying to pull the wool over the eyes of his followers. Now, there's more on this because this guy, the guy responsible for all those settlement agreements that I was explaining earlier back in 2020, he was suing everybody, was very successful. They changed a bunch of election rules, and the settlement agreements from them, where they added ballot boxes, drop boxes, or when they extended deadlines, or when they waived signature requirements, those were not statutes that were passed by Congress. Those were settlement agreements that were concocted by blue secretaries of state, blue litigants, and blue judges, and they rigged the election in that mechanism. And so here's this guy absolutely freaking out. Shout out to this clip from the Storm Redux. Really appreciate the clipping here. And he says, ha, 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 scumbag lawyer, lawfare shill, Mark Elias is panicking like never before. And he is. He does seem nervous. In fact, they all seem pretty nervous. You know they're nervous when guys like Rob Pitts yesterday are saying, oh, I don't think I did anything wrong. Oh, no, I'm not going to jail at all. What did I do wrong? Just like Don Lemon did. Here's Mark, who I think is, in my opinion, a criminal person.
Yeah, look, I've been sounding the alarm about the risks that Donald Trump faced to democracy since I was the general counsel to Hillary Clinton's campaign.
Yeah,
you and I did a lot of...
do you remember when he was general counsel to Hillary Clinton's campaign? Do you know what who he was working for? Of course you do. Perkins Coie. And what did Perkins Coie do? They hired Fusion GPS, and Fusion GPS went and got that fake dossier from Christopher Steele. And then they passed that off to Jake Sullivan, Hillary Clinton's national security advisor. And Mark sent his little buddy called Michael Sussman to go collude with Obama's FBI at the time called James Baker. And Baker and Sussman were playing footsie over this, all trying to rig the election with Russia collusion. Then after Hillary lost, Obama took the Steele dossier, shoved it in the classified annex, and then said nobody could look at it because it's too top secret. It was Hillary Clinton campaign propaganda. So yeah, we remember, Mark. That's why you belong in jail.
Television sounding the alarm before the 2020 election and what we saw afterwards. And I am here to sound a larger and louder alarm today than I ever have before. I mean, the fact is that Donald Trump has proven himself desperate. As you point out, the redistricting has not worked out the way he wished. I'm proud that my law firm represented the Democratic Party in defeating the Republican effort that we just won in the Supreme Court. But the fact is that when that didn't work out, he then went to Plan B. And Plan B is what we are seeing. It is political prosecutions. It is the threats of more political prosecutions. It is the dry running of how one seizes ballots. Yes, he's interested in 2020, but he's really interested in setting up the mechanism to be able to seize ballots in 2026. He has found a prosecutor in Missouri,
let's go,
not in Georgia, in Missouri, seizing ballots in Georgia. That prosecutor in Missouri apparently has nationwide jurisdiction, so he has found a willing prosecutor to do these things. Meanwhile, you have Steve Bannon on TV, who, as you know, is never too many degrees away from Donald Trump's psyche. This morning, saying that that ICE should be around polling locations, and what we have seen ICE do is tragic towards U.S. citizens, including killing U.S. citizens. So So, like this is all lining up. But Nicole, if I can just add one final thing. The biggest lie that Donald Trump is telling right now that we really can't let go slide and that we cannot let normalize is this idea that states operate as his agents.
That's not what he's doing.
The Constitution does not allow the president to have any role in federal elections.
The president enforces federal law. That's the whole point of the executive branch. That's his role. There are laws on the books that Congress has passed. We just went through the Constitution there, Marky. And so if the president is not involved in elections and executing the law, then what, is Congress going to do that? No, they can't. They don't execute anything. Is the judiciary? No, they can't either. So of course the federal government is involved in elections. It's not a takeover. It's what they're saying, right? They're trying to reframe this constitutional issue as a states' rights issue. Give me a break.
Just won a case in D.C. District Court in which the judge rejected the executive order that Donald Trump issued, saying that the president has no role in elections. But yet he is trying to turn the Constitution on its head. States run elections, period.
Yeah, and they can't run them illegally, as we just saw. So that's Mark. He looks very nervous. And you could even see Nicole. Is that her name? Whatever her name is. She looks pretty nervous, too. Maybe she'll go to jail alongside him. Now, here's Chuck Schumer. We'll get some of these clips out of the way and then get to Caroline and others who will clear out the filth in our eardrums. Here's Chuck Schumer saying, courtesy of Eric Daugherty, even asked questions. Do you realize that 71% of Democrats even support voter ID there, Chuck? Or are you too dumb to read those polls? Here is Chuck.
Jess, there's a new Pew Research poll that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
Because they'll lose.
It's Jim Crow 2.0. And I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts all over the...
Because that's a stupid statement. What are you saying? Showing ID is like a Jim Crow law, which was a long, complex time in American history where we had literacy tests and other things. And shouldn't you be able to read if you're going to go vote, to be honest with you? Not saying I'm for Jim Crow laws, but like certain requirements. You can't read or speak English, but in this case, they also don't want you to be able to even show an ID because of the history about how some laws were applied to be discriminatory. But does that mean that because some safeguards were historically problematic, that any safeguards are problematic and you can just say even showing ID is now a racist thing? And this is pretty offensive to Chuck Schumer's constituency. He just called 71% of Democrats, I guess, racists who love Jim Crow laws.
The internet, that's because they know it's true. What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting. For instance,
can people of color not get IDs? Is that a thing? These people are so racist. It's unbelievable. Kamala says rural voters are too dumb to go to a Kinko's and copy something. He says apparently black people and Latinxos cannot get IDs to go vote. Can they drive a car? Can they do that? Because if they can, then they can go get an ID.
Instance, if you change, you're a woman who got married and changed your last name, you won't be able to show ID and you'll be discriminated against. If you can't find a birth certificate or a proper ID, you'll be discriminated against. This is vicious and nasty. And I said to our Republican colleagues, it will not pass the Senate. You will not get a single Democratic vote in the Senate. We're not reviving Jim Crow all over the country. And when the American people hear what exactly it is doing and what its intent is doing, they're going to be against it as well.
He has no idea what he's even talking about. And I guess married women now are also incapable of changing their name or re-registering and things like that, because for them, everybody is just a victim. Every time you want to do something that is good for American policy to ensure that our elections are not stolen and rigged, they can't handle it. Now, what's happening in Fulton is really, really deep. It's not just Fannie. It's not just Brian Kemp. It's not just that moron Sterling who says he can selectively quote the Constitution and try to shove it down everyone's gullet. But apparently, the Atlanta housing executive, the person who has the authority to manage public housing, used those federal funds, stole them, paid for her own rent. She's like, well, I mean, I do have to make sure people are housed. How about I start with me? She pleaded guilty on Monday to collecting more than 300 grand in federal housing and pandemic funds. She's like, oh, Fannie can do it. Fannie can pay her lover, and then they can use his money to go on cruises and send 10,000 text messages to each other. So what if I steal a couple hundred G's? Channel 3 was in the courtroom as she pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit theft of government funds, could face 20 years in prison. She spoke softly, answered yes or no questions, and the fraud is everywhere. And it's at the people in charge who are supposed to be acting for their constituencies. They don't. And Brianna Lyman, who I just followed over there on X, shout out, she reminded us about this message that came directly from Brian Kemp's office back November 17, 2021. And this was in response to this little clip from Abby Phillips. And Phillips is saying, we don't need to listen to her, but she's making the point that there was no fraud. Everything's investigated a million times. Even the governor said it's perfect. Even the Secretary of State, who can't read the Constitution, said it's perfect. And everybody like Scott McAfee, who's now a judge, investigated it. And no, there's certainly no quid pro quo to make sure the people who covered things up get elevated into higher positions. So she does her little sting over there. No fraud at all. But what about this message that you see was sent November 17th, 2021 in a letter from Brian Kemp, the governor's office, over to the election board, the old board that didn't do anything with this until the new board came in. In fact, they were threatening Kevin Moncla for asking them questions. The governor sent this to them. He says, all right, members of the state election board, I write to refer the following matter to the board for its review and consideration. Now, as you know, I called on Georgians with information about inconsistencies and complaints to notify the proper state authorities. Who are those people? People like Scott McAfee, people like the GBI investigator. Now, at this time, people like Fani Willis in November, right? She's now in office. What's she going to do? Nothing. To date, the complaint outlined below is the only instance where a complainant has referred an issue to my office and provided all of the requested information to me and my staff. Okay, Kemp, before the cover-up gets underway, says, I just got this big dossier dropped on my feet. On September 3rd, Mr. Joseph Rossi, a retired executive from Georgia, contacted me. He presented an analysis of the 2020 risk limiting audit report, noting 36 inconsistencies that were reported by Fulton County. The analysis was created by him and an attorney called Jack James, who volunteered their own time, no compensation. They reviewed thousands of ballot images. Shout out to those heroes. Their dedication to this immense task is commendable. They thought, wow, we're good people. We've actually got the goods now. We've done our homework. Let's turn it over to our governor, a person of integrity, a person who swore an oath, who is committed to making sure the laws are faithfully executed and that fraud is not rampant in his state. What happened? So he says the 36 inconsistencies noted by Mr. Rossi are factual in nature. They pose no underlying theories outside of the reported data, and they could not be explained by my office after a thorough review detailed below. I found 36 inconsistencies courtesy of the governor's office. Now, the purpose of this letter is to convey these inconsistencies to the board and to request them to be explained or corrected. Now, this letter, to be clear, does not purport to dispute the outcome or the contest of the election, but rather just to highlight the inconsistencies discovered in the report. And then right after that, cover up underway. Senator Perdue gets a call from Georgia Bureau of Investigations. Kemp said, if I want to be a team player, I'm not going to investigate. And he didn't. Then McAfee, the inspector general, gets presented evidence. He does nothing with it. Kemp makes them both judges after acknowledging that there were inconsistencies out of his own office. They all belong in jail. And Tom Cotton is responding to the attempts to poison pill this whole thing, right? A big effort from the left is to say Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian agent or whatever. And that would automatically, according to them, invalidate the entire investigation. Almost like if you had a police officer who pulled you over for a DUI and then, like threw a bag of meth on your dashboard, like, oh, driving while methed. And, okay, so that cop is corrupt. Therefore, the whole crime is corrupt and it should be dismissed. That's what they're trying to engineer here with Tulsi. Tom, though, He said, I've reviewed this whistleblower, in quotes, complaint, and the inspector general and the handling of it that we talked about yesterday. Now, I agree with both inspectors general who have evaluated the matters already. The complaint is not credible, and the inspectors general and the DNI took the necessary steps to ensure the material has handled and transmitted appropriately in accordance with law. To be frank, it seems like just another effort by the president's critics in and out of government to undermine policies that they don't like. It's definitely not credible allegations of waste, fraud, or abuse. And that's what the complaint was? A waste, fraud, and abuse thing of Tulsi? They're desperate, as we can see. And we're also learning that Tulsi went down to Puerto Rico and got her hands on some of those voting machines down there. CNN reporting this one, saying DNI obtained voting machines from Puerto Rico and probed them for security vulnerabilities. That's what they told CNN yesterday. This extraordinary move, they say, came after Tulsi went down to Fulton and helped to monitor the raid. The ODNI claimed in its statement to have found, extremely concerning cybersecurity and operational deployment practices with the voting machines in Puerto Rico, but there was no evidence provided to CNN. You don't deserve evidence. You're not entitled to it. It's an ongoing investigation. Start in Puerto Rico. Are we using the same machines or the same companies? There's only a handful of them. The U.S. attorney in Puerto Rico and other agents, HSI, Homeland, and FBI agents, quote, according to Homeland, facilitated the voluntary turnover of electronic voting hardware and software to ODNI for analysis. An ODNI spokesperson said it's unclear what they got and why they wanted to study the machines. They said publicly reported claims about elections in Puerto Rico alleged discrepancies and systemic anomalies in their electronic voting systems. Weird, just like we had here on the Homeland. David Becker, the executive of a nonpartisan nonprofit group that works with election officials, said, oh no, the machines are subject to regular testing and a strict chain of custody. No, they are not. Jenna Griswold from Colorado destroyed the testing, TNA, testing and accuracy. Just think about this in the DUI context. Okay, you have a machine. You run blood samples through the machine. The machine is calibrated to analyze the sample and give you a result. And in order for it to be valid, you've got to make sure it's validated. Okay, they say, oh, it's perfect. It works fine. The manufacturer say, okay, well, the crime lab needs to run some samples through there and make sure it's actually working appropriately, validate it, and basically put a seal on it like a DoorDash order. Don't touch it. It's all tinkered with. It's perfect. Don't open it up. Otherwise, you're going to wreck the seal. You know, once open, you cannot return it, kind of a thing. Same thing with elections. Testing and accuracy, whole processes, takes weeks sometimes because there's these all over the states. Jenna went in and updated the BIOS firmware, the password, the whole friggin' base layer software system, the foundation of it all. She went in there and just tinkered around with it days before the election, making sure that there was no time to do a recalibration and to re-verify it, put new ballots through there, and have anybody else raise objections to this. It's rigged. So I don't know, David Becker, the machines count paper ballots that are audited. Now, the DNI also coordinated intelligence from across 17 other organizations. They say it's unprecedented to have her play such a hands-on role in election infrastructure. You know what else is unprecedented? Joe Biden getting 81 million votes when he was an invalid during COVID, and all of the other anomalies that we saw, that's unprecedented. Stealing a national election from Americans, that's pretty unprecedented. This is justice. Saying this is well beyond what they have authority to do. But this is going down in Puerto Rico, and he's nervous, right? He says, this appears to be intended to intimidate election officials. Well, if they're committing fraud, they should be pretty intimidated, and they should be freaked, just like Rob Pitts is in Fulton. Don't relax. You cannot relax. There's more coming. Reuters also first reported the probe, said this took place last spring. Not clear if or when the DNI will release more information about this, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. If it's going down in Puerto Rico, we know Many of the same companies, many of the same systems, many of the same softwares. They say, oh no, the elections are perfectly run in Puerto Rico. They're not. Same thing they say here. So we're looking forward to more on that. But Caroline Leavitt was out today, and she said, Tulsi has plenty of power to investigate these things. You guys know that. Stop crying about stuff that you know she's authorized to do.
What I do have evidence of, and what the media seems to be undermining, is why Tulsi Gabbard is there in the first place. And I would point you again to federal law that clearly assigns the DNI and the office with the statutory responsibility to lead counter intel matters related to election security. This includes assessing risks to election voting systems, software, voter registration databases, and more, and analyzing foreign interference. And the ODNI is responsible for supporting the White House interagency action to secure our elections through intel analysis and vulnerability assessments. And they should be routinely collaborating with agencies like the DHS, the DOJ, and the FBI. So as for that question, it would be better suited to ask the Director of National Intelligence herself in her office. But what I'm telling you is that it is more than appropriate. In fact, it is Tulsi Gabbard's job to ensure that our elections are safe and secure. And that's exactly what she's been doing on the ground in Georgia. And I don't understand why anyone in this room, considering you're all American citizens, I believe, and like to vote in our nation's elections, should have any problem with that whatsoever.
Well, their problem is that they would prefer to just win. Free and fair elections is a nice bumper sticker to them. They don't care. They just want total victory. They'll do anything to achieve it, even if it means shooting their opponents in the head. And then trying to throw him off the ballot, bankrupt him, and imprison him. So John Solomon was also out today, courtesy of Carly Bonney. John is plugged in, and he was on the Steve Bannon show, and he's saying it will be expanding. Come to Arizona. We need you here. Katie Hobbs, our former Secretary of State, is a moron, and they couldn't run the Kari Lake election at all. They couldn't even size the paper ballots. Like, you go to a printer, you want to print an envelope, but you just can't get the right size. They couldn't figure it out. People were waiting on election day, outside polling places all over Arizona, hundreds of thousands of people. Elections are rigged, obviously. Then we had Bill Onesie Twosie, Bill Gates. I just want a couple onesie twosies, have to cross a couple I's, dot a couple T's, onesie twosies in Arizona. Shut up, Bill. We don't talk like that. He was our county commissioner elections guy. Ridiculous. So Solomon's out. Here's what he says is coming soon to Arizona and elsewhere.
We're told by Chris Frey and other officials after the 2020 election, we had a perfect election. There were no major foreign intrusions or foreign attempted intrusions in the 2020 election. I pretty quickly debunked that about a year later when I reported that Iran actually had hacked into a battleground state's registration system and downloaded more than 100,000 identities and was using them. Eventually, 2 guys got indicted in Manhattan. That's a really significant intrusion. That was not what Chris Wray told us. Then we learned from Kash Patel a couple of months ago that China was sending driver's licenses into the United States in 2020 in hopes that they could be used to create fake ballot registration.
Tens of thousands.
That is a second really significant intrusion. Both of those are run contrary to what Chris Wray and other Homeland Security officials gave us as statements during the time. I believe that the President of the United States is soon going to be briefed by Tulsi Gabbard and other intelligence officials, based on my reporting, about additional intrusions, significant, large-scale intrusions into various forms of our election system. Now, I'm not talking about getting a machine and flipping the vote, but maybe getting enough of state voter databases that a foreign power could work with people on the ground in the United States to fill out fake registrations for people who are on dirty voter rolls. Those licenses that were sent into Chicago were going to be used to make absentee ballot applications, according to the FBI predicate. By the way, Chris Wray's FBI didn't look at that. They shut it down. If a foreign power was that far into the election databases of state systems that they could figure out what driver's licenses to send here, the next question becomes, who were they working with on the ground? Who was going to file those ballot requests? I think that's why Tulsi Gabbard was down in Georgia, why you might see her in Arizona, why the FBI will probably be in Arizona, and why the president's about to get a briefing. And all of this new information could have a profound effect on the Save America Act, which is, all right, some people say it feels like we're doing an awful lot. There's not a real problem. These next revelations, if the president were to declassify them after he gets debriefed on them in the next few days, they could educate senators and House members and give them a greater inspiration to maybe go ahead and do the voter ID and the citizenship check. That is a big moment. Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are driving this. It's been below the radar, but they're doing some really big stuff. Now the president's going to find out what it is, and then at that point, the opportunity to declassify it. Let's see what it is. There's one other element to this. If government officials lied to us after the 2020 election, there's still an opportunity in some of those cases to pursue criminal cases against them. We'll see where it all comes out, but that's what's going on in the background of the Save America Act debate right now.
Let's get it done. We want justice for the fraudsters. Now, here is Caroline Leavitt. She said, yeah, I thought you guys were so worried about Russia collusion for 4 years. We're investigating foreign interference. Go talk to Hillary. She was screaming at us, saying that Putin rigged everything. So why don't you come over and celebrate? We're keeping out Putin, too.
It's the media who has said that there's Russian interference in American elections. You guys have been saying that for many, many years. So the people
in Fulton County.
Well, the people in this room, considering that you all said for many years that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump, you should all be very happy that we finally have an administration that is looking into that, and we'll be happy to keep you posted.
They're like, well, we didn't really think Putin was interfering with our elections. We just wanted it to get ripped away from Trump. So we made it up, just like we made up everything else about an insurrection, January 6th. Like made up Charlotte and Fine People hoax, made up the Haitian whippers, made up George Floyd is a hero, made up Alex Pretti is a hero, made up classified. You get it. Nonstop. So come join us. We now want election integrity, Democrats. Don't you too? Well, here's Caroline explaining the SAVE Act is the next thing that we need to get done. So John Thune and the senators, let's do it.
The president is calling on Republicans again and Democrats to pass the SAVE Act. I will reiterate, requirement for voter ID to vote. That should be something that no American should oppose. In fact, we know that the vast majority of Americans support it. Requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote, which is not hard to do. We should be able to do that in this country. If you want to register to vote in the United States of America, you have to be a citizen in the United States of America.
Pretty simple.
And this piece of federal legislation will direct states to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. I just had a conversation with the president about it. The president.
All right, so we got to get that done. We cannot have rigged elections anymore. Fortunately, we have precedent from the Democrats. They're wanting to investigate the Russians, and we want to investigate all of the fraud everywhere. And so we're going to keep our eye on this one. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, now we're not done yet. Let's queue up what's going down in Minnesota and get this all situated on our new setup here, which I'm getting used to. But here we go. Mayor Frey squirming in his seat after this question came from a CNN anchor saying that, you know, Obama, when he was in charge, interfaced with your jails pretty nicely there, Jacob. How come you can't do the same? Well, he'll explain that he doesn't have a good answer. Here is the squirmy mayor.
It is worth noting that during the Obama years, the Hennepin County Jail actually had a policy where they let an ICE agent keep an office there and allowed them to talk to immigrants. So the policy has clearly been, under a Democratic president, what now the Trump administration is asking for. I mean, big picture, do you think it's good policy for the jails to follow an ICE detainer and hand someone over if they've committed a crime? And again, this only happens after they've served their time, for whatever crime they may have committed against the people of Minnesota.
I mean, look, you're asking all the right questions here. And while I don't have full expertise in how the operations at the jail are conducted, again, that's not our jurisdiction. What I would say is that there are mechanisms to do this lawfully.
It is worth noting that
she just explained how it was done lawfully there, Jacob. All you have to do is hold on to them. But again, they don't care about any practicalities. They just care about political power. And they don't want to hold on to them because they really do want them back on the streets, supporting their power. Now, we also saw today another horrific situation where this illegal alien drove into a vehicle and killed 4 individuals. The ICE X account said an illegal alien truck driver has now been charged with killing 4 people in Indiana. 2 days ago, on February 3rd, criminal illegal alien called Bekzan Bekshevkev of Kyrgyzstan allegedly swerved and drove his 18-wheeler head-on into a van, an 18-wheeler into a van, killing 4 innocent Americans. 50-year-old Henry Elcher, 25-year-old Menno Elcher, oh, family, oh my gosh, 19-year-old Paul, and 23-year-old Simon, all dead. He entered the U.S. using the Biden administration's CBP-1 app, the illegal alien Uber service. Just come on in here. Oh, perfect. I'll have a flight in there. Where should I go? How about Indiana? Then they gave him a CDL license because Governor Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania wants illegals in his state too. Now, ICE's partners at the Indiana State Police arrested him. He'll remain in ICE Fort Worth custody pending immigration proceedings. This tragedy could have been prevented. Pennsylvania shouldn't have given him an opportunity to drive a CDL or a big rig or given him a license. And I understand accidents happen in America. We don't need to import them and import dead Americans. Look at the scene. It's horrific. Horrific. It's happening a lot, happening over and over. They can't read. They can't speak English. They can't understand our roads. Here, have a CDL. Drive around one of the most deadly vehicles on the roads and just take out a whole family while you're at it. And we're just supposed to sit here. Jacob Frey, right? He's the type of guy who says we're not going to turn them over to ICE because we protect the illegal aliens. It's a sick ideology. They're basically suicidal and murderous, but they don't care. It's not their families being killed. It's ours. So here's Caroline. She said, 4 Americans were tragically killed on this, and the Democrats, for some reason, don't want to help us. Help us help you. Help us stop the CDLs. Help us identify the illegals. Help us undo all of the crap that Joe Biden did. Here's Caroline.
This is another abhorrent example of the border crisis over the past 4 years, and it again exemplifies why the administration must continue and will always continue to fully back and support ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement in their removal of illegal alien criminals from our country. For those who don't know, and all of you should report on it, 4 Americans were tragically killed and lost their lives this week yet again from an illegal alien, an individual who was paroled into the country by the Biden administration using the CBP-1 app, which they created like it was a magic pass for Disneyland. That's not how immigration in this country should work.
That's pretty good too. My Uber app is pretty good, but that's also like a Disney Fast Pass. That's pretty good. And that's why she's the press secretary.
And this illegal alien from Kyrgyzstan was traveling on an Indiana highway, and he failed to brake for a slowed semi-truck in front of him. He swerved into the lane and he crashed into a van carrying 15 passengers, and 4 people were killed in that crash. This is another tragedy that could have been prevented if not for the wide open borders from the previous administration. That's why we now have a secure border. That's why this administration will continue to deport illegal aliens from our country.
Yeah, and we can't let up. And why are we bringing these people in? Like, what's the benefit to America to bring in this dude from Kyrgyzstan on a CBP-1 app? Is he going to do the jobs Americans aren't going to want to do? Can Americans not drive trucks? Pretty sure they can. I've represented many of them. Is it a humanitarian thing? Like, what the hell's going on in Kyrgyzstan? He can't stay over in Kyrgyzstan? How many countries are in between the United States and Kyrgyzstan? Do you think he could have stopped off at any one of those other countries? Maybe a European country? Why do we have to take in everybody and then deal with the consequences of dead Americans, dead families being murdered by these people? We also see an Antifa terrorist has now been arrested. So if you're mad about that murder by the Kurzy, This guy is an American citizen, it looks like, and he was also arrested. We have insurgents, homegrown domestic violent extremism, as Christopher Wray would like to call it. Remember that. Who is a terrorist, really, organized insurgency in signal groups saying, come and kill us, or, we'll come and find you, whatever. Todd Blanche said the Justice Department today arrested a self-identified terrorist, his words, in Minneapolis. If you conspire and threaten to assault, kill, and eliminate and dox officers, you're going to find yourself in federal custody facing the full force of justice. And here's a very big close-up photo of this freak show. Oh, look at that. Resistance. Just like probably mentally ill a little bit, but maybe not. I think the whole party's mostly mentally ill. JJ also shared this. Here's what he was wearing when he got arrested. I'm Antifa. Perfect. Nice way to identify him. Maybe he can tattoo that on his forehead, just to be clear. But he did get charged today or earlier in the week, but the case was unsealed. You can see 2 counts. Interesting. 1 count, cyber stalking, making his little TikTok videos. And 2, interstate communications. Wow, so cyber stalking. Wow, that's going to be interesting. We'll see if he gets convicted on that. This is coming out of Michigan, Eastern District in Michigan. Guy's name's Kyle Wagner. Now he's been charged. Here's the affidavit from the ICE and HSI team. Person's name is Rudy. What's up, Rudy? Says, I'm Special Agent Rudy with ICE. I'm currently assigned as a special agent in Dallas. I do a bunch of investigations about RICO and meth and coke and all the things. I also investigate cyberstalking. Been a law enforcement officer for quite some time. And this affidavit is just to establish probable cause. Doesn't contain all the facts. More will be revealed as the case progresses. But here's the probable cause. First of all, Kyle is a Minneapolis resident and a self-identified Antifa member. He's also demonstrated a persistent and escalating opposition to ICE, including conspiring, threatening to assault enforcement officers. He has the intent to impede their operations and more. And in fact, over the last few months on social media, this guy has publicly denounced ICE agents, referring to them as aggressors, the Gestapo, and murderers. He actively encourages his followers to impede, intimidate, and interfere with ICE operations, urging others to confront, assault, and impede them. In January this year, HSI began reviewing his posts, including contact from Facebook and Instagram. And during this review, they identified multiple posts that showed escalating threats directed against law enforcement, including ICE agents and Wagner's involvement in a conspiracy. Then on January 29th, on his Instagram, called Antifa Chaos, I guess, incorrectly spelled, obviously, Wagner doxed a pro-ICE individual called JS. See, so now we're getting like away from speech into actions. Yeah, post whatever you want, make your little stupid videos, but once you start crossing certain lines, it can become criminal. He published a phone number, published a birth month and year, and an address. In the same post, also threatened JS. Later, then, admitted that he was doxing the parents' house as well. Now, the following posts demonstrate his intent. He used social media to encourage his instigators and wanted them to engage in crimes of violence. Here are some of the posts. January 8th, not long ago. He posted a video directly threatening ICE. He said, I've already bled for this city. I've already fought for this city. This is nothing new. We're ready this time. ICE, we're effing coming for you. On Instagram. Yeah, well, they came for you there, buddy boy. Now, Instagram also said, the ICE bunkhouses in the West End and around the Twin Cities are constant harassment of ICE, and we need to continue that. But we need to cripple them. Anywhere we have an opportunity to get our hands on them, we need to put our hands on them. Okay, get violent. Kind of taking a play out of Alex Pretti's playbook. He was on here and he made a full video. Let's put our hands on them. They're so tough. So then he explained that Minneapolis is going to be the first state to stand its effing ground. We're not about to be overrun by a bunch of Nazis. In another video, Wagner explained that things were at an inflection point. He says that the next 30 days are going to be tense. If you're looking for something to do, he said, hunt ICE. Vehicles can be sacrificed. Disable their vehicles. Surround them. Disarm them. Arm yourself. Work in crowds. Police will come and arrest them. If they touch you, it's assault. And he have no right to aim lethal weapons at us citizens. Well, I mean, if you're attacking them and placing them in reasonable fear of imminent harm, yeah. or quarter their arms terrorist forces. He's ranting. You see the post goes on. He says, wherever ICE is, go there. Your numbers matter. Let them exhaust themselves. Blah, blah, blah. On a little bit of a screed there. Same image he posted over to Facebook. And continues. Now, then he posted a screenshot about the Iron Front March. He said, police are staging in Gold Medal Park and in this location. Be smart, stick together. If you're armed, declare it. And exercise the SOP, which we read, all in those signal groups, remember. Exercise the SOP for escalation of force. So get in their faces, as Maxine Waters would say, and cause them psychological harm. Make sure they can't do their jobs because you're surrounding them, impeding them, doing the I'm a dumb protester thing to obstruct their process. Then again, January 10th, he continued, anywhere there's ICE, you can go have some fun. It's working quite well because now they're sending us more troops, right? They want more chaos. They think it's to their benefit. So he keeps posting, you get it. This is a war. This is a war for our effing souls. I'm going to stay in this fight to the bitter end, and I'm going to die in this process. Or we're going to win. Well, you're in jail now. So a bunch of posts. Here's some more. The same day, he also shared a video of the Renee Good. He said, watch it as many times as you need to. If you side with the gunman, we're coming for you too. All right. So then lots of posts, lots of screaming at the government. Then eventually he's going to get into other people. Lots of posts here, fist and voice. He's insane. Continues on. We're faced with a moral obligation. Needs some more tattoos on his face. What's this? Is that a tattoo? That's not on his other faces. Right there. Oh, it's just a mirror image. All right. So he continues on. Keeps going and keeps going. Talking about Waco and the Oklahoma City bombing. Then he's also wearing a bulletproof vest in this video. January 14th. This one, I think, or some of these videos went viral. Encouraged his followers to join him. He said, every armed Minnesotan is going to be there. We are going to have an armed defense of this city. This fascism will not be allowed on our streets. ICE came here to die, is what he said. Psycho. So he's posting these, probably getting a lot of followers. Look at that, man. Look at that activity. 30,000 likes. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. After a pro-ICE rally, Wagner then also posted to Facebook. He says, I want to make one thing very clear. This is going to be directly to all of you. And something about Jake Lang, he just continues. Another Instagram story, fast forwarding. Officer involved shooting Alex Pretti. Then he gets this little weird video. Let me just make sure that that's no genitals in there. No genitals, thank God. Then we have later that day, he posted another video. To all my crash out kids, former still active, we want every armed American, you get it, okay? On and on and on. And we just keep going, more posts. Power to the people, January 27th. Then we see he starts harassing this person called JS. Put that person in reasonable fear of death or serious bodily injury. In January, he went and found this person called JS. Full name, birth month, year, phone number, and address. Doxed this person, called him BB Nazi Boy. Then he said, we can all knock on strangers' doors. See you soon, kiddo. Stay safe out there. Okay, that's where it becomes cyber stalking. He's focusing on one person, looks like a civilian. We're going to come to your house and harass you. And is saying, we're coming. Stay safe out there or I'll come kill you. Here you go. Another post. Yeah, so here, right? He's saying, I know where you live. BB Nazi Boy. See you soon, kiddo. And now he's busted. In another video, he then explained that he doxed that dude's parents' address and the phone number, and then talked about fighting him in a cage match. So this agent says, well, based on all of my experience, this certainly feels like he was authoring these posts and used Instagram with the intent to either kill, literally, injure, harass, or intimidate, or surveil this person called JS. Okay, that's the crime. All the ICE stuff is the backdrop. That caused this person substantial emotional distress. He's unleashing all of his followers, and he's got a bunch of them. My gosh. Probably get more. Look at these posts, man. 26,000 likes. Huge, huge numbers. Huge numbers. And now he's paying the price for that. Nothing comes for free. So He continues, in conclusion, based on the foregoing, I believe we've got probable cause to arrest this dude for cyber stalking and interstate communications where you are cyber stalking. And now you go straight to jail. So we're happy to see it. Now, while all this is happening, you see that the Virginia governor is now refusing to cooperate with ICE, orders the state to end all partnerships with ICE. So Virginia is in big trouble. They're already releasing criminals who are horrific crimes or working on that. Now, all of these Antifa goons and all of the ICE agents will have to, I guess, battle each other out in Virginia because Abigail Spanberger is wrecking their state very quickly. So Caroline was out, bunch of clips from her today, and she was talking about the illegals that came into our country courtesy of Joe Biden and why we have to get them out.
Is the president still committed to deportations of the 20 million illegals that came here under Joe Biden, or are you starting to see that back?
Yes, and the president has always been committed to that, John. But we must prioritize, and the prioritization is on those tens of thousands of convicted criminals whom we know are still roaming our streets. ICE and Border Patrol and DHS have done a phenomenal job of removing tens of thousands of them. Actually, nearly 1 million people have been deported from our country over the past year, 2 million additional self-deportations. So nearly 3 million people have left the United States. But again, as you pointed out rightfully, Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed approximately 20 million people into our country illegally. So yes, of course, the president is committed to ensuring that America is and always will be a nation of laws.
Nice.
Is
and
the
president yesterday gave an interview to NBC. And in that exchange, we listened to it this morning on our members only stream. We were trying to contemplate what he was actually talking about. Is this just election year softening? Happens every year. Everybody during off years races to the margins. The right goes far right. The left goes far left. During the elections, everybody races to the middle. This is just ebbs and flows of politics. But it did have people concerned, obviously, because if the president is reversing on immigration, well, that's not what we voted for. But in my opinion, it's just electioneering. And here is more from Caroline saying that softer touch that he's referring to is because we're getting cooperation with these people now. In other words, we don't need two sets of defensive forces. We need ICE agents conducting immigration raids, but we don't need federal agents to defend the ICE agents conducting the raids if the local cops will defend the ICE agents. That's what the drawdown is about. And we also talked about it this morning. Some polls are seemingly shifting. Trump's approval numbers went down after Alex Pretti, obviously, and then they are coming back a little bit, maybe because of this tone. You can debate whether that's smart politics, but he's won 3 times now. So we'll see what Caroline says in explaining the president's message.
The president's answer yesterday, the full context of his answer was that he'd like to see a softer touch, but we are always going to remain tough. That softer touch the president is referring to is that cooperation that is necessary between state and local authorities and federal government authorities to ensure that we can continue deporting illegal aliens from our communities without tons of agents having to go after one illegal alien. If the states and the local governments just turn over their illegal aliens to ICE at jails, as they should be doing, it requires one agent to deport that one illegal alien who can then go on their way to their home country in a peaceful manner. The escalation that we've seen take place in Minnesota is a direct result of the refusal of state and local officials to cooperate with the federal government and with ICE, which has led to these hostile and dangerous environments. And so we don't want that. Again, the president wants direct cooperation, and that's what he was referring to the president.
Exactly. So there's always going to be some ebbs and flows, I think, with any policies. We want massive, aggressive deportations, man. Like a whole regiment just unleashed every single day. But, you know, that's one way to do it. Of course, there's less aggressive ways to do it, which is what they're pursuing. But while all this was happening, Van Hollen, the man who went down to go play footsie with Kilmar wife-beating Abrego Garcia down in El Salvador when he was down there in CCOT, is very upset that Alex Pretti was killed, basically because he brought himself to his own death multiple times, or tried to multiple times, maybe had a death wish. But Scott Bessent was in here mopping the floor with these morons, the Democrats, today in Congress, and Van Hollen asked him about Pretti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No more. Mr. Secretary, I think you would agree that the credibility of the Secretary of the Treasury is important, and I want to give you a chance to retract a statement that you made on national TV.
No, thanks.
Alex Pretti was shot 10 times and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. The administration, some in the administration called him a, quote, domestic terrorist.
Yeah, in my opinion, he is, right? They said that he wasn't, and they kind of walked that back a little bit. I think the fact that we saw him, the incident before, the weekend before, where he was hawking loogies, when he was kicking the back of the vehicles, breaking the taillight out, when he was surging the scene because he got the message to go in there and escalate. We found he was in the signal groups. We found that their manuals said you needed to go blow whistles. You need to attack them. You need to blow out their eardrums. You need to distract them from what they're doing and cause the tension to increase. All of that is part of an organized insurgency. They're trying to literally terrorize ICE agents to get them out. They want to attack people to change policy. How is that not terrorism? Here's more.
You suggested that Alex Pretti was culpable in his own killing because he had a gun in his waistband holster, which he was licensed to carry.
Yeah, that's contributory to his death, but he shouldn't have been obstructing them. He went out into the street, he was moved to the side, went back out into the street again, and then started to interface with federal agents. He was already told not to do it. It's not really any different than Renee Good, other than he had a gun, she had a car.
When asked, you said, quote, I'm sorry this gentleman is dead, but you went on to say he had a weapon, suggesting that
and he shouldn't have been
was culpable in his own killing.
He was culpable.
So, Mr. Secretary, today, would you like to retract that statement?
I would not. And would you like to express remorse over the death of Ashley Babbitt here in the Capitol?
Ooh. Oh, I have expressed remorse over that. So I've done that, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, please don't. So you think I have other questions, but I actually would have expected you to take this opportunity to rephrase your response to that question. So you think the fact that he legally had a gun justified his killing?
I didn't say that at all.
You said, do you think he was culpable, partly to blame in his own killing because he had a gun?
They did not say that.
I'm asking you a question now. Do you believe he was in any way culpable for his own killing because he legally carried a gun?
Again, this is an outside.
Again, that's a fake because. It's not just the fact that he had a gun. Like the fact that you have a gun is not something that should result in your death because you're allowed to have a gun. It's the Second Amendment. But we put the Venn diagram up here. Okay, gun owners know that if you have a gun, you might need to use it. You might kill somebody, you might shoot somebody in a blue state and go to prison for that, even if it's a lawful shoot. Like there are consequences to having guns. And if you're going to have a gun and then commit a crime, which is what Van Hollen is missing here, which in this case is obstructing federal agents and being a part of a domestic insurgency, yeah, that makes you culpable. It's not about the gun. Stop trying to invoke the Second Amendment as though that's a shield against counter forces from federal agents when you're committing crimes that victimize them.
Stock hearing?
Yeah.
So,
but you're the Secretary of the Treasury.
Why don't we talk about financial stability and oversight?
I'm happy to, Mr. Secretary, but your credibility is important. And in that response, you really, I think, let down the country because we expect honesty after that kind of terrible tragedy.
Yeah. Why don't you go have a margarita with another illegal alien there, Van Hollen? So, of course, we want bad illegals and more than that, all illegals out of the country. And Caroline Leavitt is explaining how we have common sense requirements. If they would follow these rules, it'd be very simple.
Despite desperate recent attempts by Democrats and those in the media to undermine the president's deportation agenda, these efforts are failing. Brand new Harvard-Harris polling shows overwhelming support for President Trump's efforts to protect law-abiding citizens from criminal illegal aliens. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans say criminal illegal aliens should be deported. A solid majority also support deporting all illegal aliens, regardless of additional crimes. And more than 2 in 3 Americans back the Trump administration's common sense requirement that state and local officials cooperate with federal authorities and work to hand over criminal illegal aliens in local jails for swift deportation. Despite desperate...
And Jacob Frey and Tim Walz didn't do that. They're not helping. They want the chaos. They want to defend their illegal alien constituencies and virtue signal for the Democrat Party. ICE out, fighting ICE. We're getting kidnapped, blah, blah, blah. And they're responsible for these deaths as much as anybody. If they would just cooperate to make sure that illegal aliens are not murdering and killing our citizens, a lot of this could have been solved a long time ago. But that might result in less congressional seats, less funding, less illegal alien votes, and the elimination of their power structure, so they can't let that happen. But we're going to keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and joining, as we do. All right, if you're just getting here, we had a beautiful stream today. We talked about some fun stuff. We had, of course, the Fulton County subpoenas flying to Nathan Wade and body cam footage released from the raid in Fulton on the election center conducted by the FBI. Fun segment here because we got to also make fun of this dork, Gabriel Sterling, who is lying to his followers by posting half-truths in the Constitution, which makes me so offended. And he calls himself a Secretary of State, and he's going to prevent the federal takeover by selectively quoting the Article 1. It's a joke, but we, of course, explained the Constitution to him. Maybe he needs thicker glasses. Article 4, Clause 1. Article 1, Clause 1. Article 4, Section 4. First one was Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1, not Article 4. And, of course, we talked about the National Voter Registration Act and why Congress passed statutes in the HAVA Act that explains voter IDs and statewide voter registration databases that we know are completely fraudulent because even a senator who is not the Secretary of State can go find that hundreds or thousands of people are registered illegally at places where they do not reside against the law. Then we put together some Schumer action, who is getting asked a very simple question about, hey, even Democrats, 71% of Democrats want voter ID. Why are you calling them racist? Why are you calling them Jim Crow bigots? They're not Jim Crow bigots. They're just Americans who want to make sure that Americans are voting. What's so complicated about that? But in Atlanta, we've got even the housing authority executive is stealing money. She pleaded guilty on Monday. We saw that Brian Kemp is probably a liar and a criminal along with the rest of them because his office confirmed that, oh yeah, there were 36 inconsistencies in the report before Brian Kemp apparently put pressure on the GBI investigator and Scott McAfee to turn their eyeballs the other way, not look at it, and he made them judges in the aftermath of that because the cover-up continued. We also saw big news that Tulsi went down and got some voting machines from Puerto Rico, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot more here. Don't know what the company is. Don't know what the systems are. Dominion, Smartmatic, whatever. She got some machines in addition to some boxes from Fulton County. And in fact, that may have been the headline of the day, to be honest with you. That's a big one. So then we had Caroline, bunch of good stuff. John Solomon says they're coming to Arizona. We can't wait, man. We'll throw a friggin' party for them. And then Caroline, couple more from her before we turned our attention to Jacob Frey, squirming around, asked is this good policy? You know, Obama did this. Like, do you think Obama's good? This guy wants to be Obama, essentially. And he's like, oh, well, I guess maybe I should do that. But we also saw this maniac, illegal alien from Kyrgyzstan, for whatever reason, use the illegal alien Disneyland fast pass to come in here and then murder 4 people, including what seems to be like a family, which is just, it makes me sick. Henry Eicher, rest in peace. 25 years old. Menno Eicher, rest in peace. 19-year-old Paul Eicher, whole family got taken out. Rest in peace. And Simon Girard, 23, rest in peace. All dead because some illegal alien got a CDL license from a Democrat governor called Josh Shapiro, invited in by Joe Biden, and now they're dead. For what? Because we needed another Kyrgyzstani in here. Great. So here's Press Secretary Moore. We talked a lot about her. This dude got arrested. We read through the criminal complaint. The Antifa goon, now gone. Abigail in Virginia, not cooperating with ICE, hasn't gotten the memo yet. And more from Caroline saying the president is not really lightening up. It's just a little bit of a change in tone. But the end game and the end goal will be the same. So we talked through that. Scott Bessent was having some fun with Van Hollen and more from Caroline. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing to our channel if you haven't already done that. We go live 5 days a week here. We also go live 6 days a week, most weeks, for our membos in the mornings, 9 a.m. Arizona, 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you want to kick the day off right, we have an awesome community. We talk about other things that we can't get to here on the show. We have a lot of fun, and it's a great way to support us and meet some new people and have some fun too. But now, let's hear from you and see what you have to say about all of this. And thanks for subscribing and liking and all those things. Really appreciate having you here. We'll be back tomorrow to close out the week strong. All right, so let's see who's here and joining us. And I saw some great donos, my friends. Thank you for sending those in and supporting us on the day. Oh, we got some interesting comments over here. Tasadaka, I see you. Nice to see you. Bill Tong is here. We got even more coming in. Diane, good to see you. We're scrolling back up to the top over here. And Sarah, man, thank you guys for these donos. Yeah, we do have a new look. What'd you guys think of the new look? Of the new... Man, look at all these comments we got. Boom, here we go. All right. Hey, look at this handsome kitty. Is he in our chat? Wow, what a nice kitty cat. Chatting away. Hey, yeah, send a super chat in here. We'll read it. Thanks, little FBI kitty. Now, that's an FBI, agent that I can really get behind right there, Shout out. Get to work and, 9 lives and all the things. That's fun. It's so cute. Here, just keep looking at it. All right, Pinochet. It is no accident that McAfee got the Fanny Rico case. No accident at all. And you can just see it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so clear. When you realize he was the inspector general. Oh, and then randomly gets a case. It'd be like if Boasberg was investigating Trump and then gets all 3 cases randomly assigned to him in the middle of the night when he was doing the assigning. It's like, it's all a facade. Like everybody who questioned 2020 was absolutely right. We're getting more and more vindicated every day, and it feels good, man. Rick D says activist judge Indira Talwani blocks the Trump administration from using taxpayer info to find illegals. You can't learn their names. That's a privacy violation for the illegal aliens. Maybe they should also, of course, New York is already paying for their lawyers and things like that. So thank you for that, Rick. I didn't see that one yet. That was today. Indira Talwani. Is she a foreign-born judge? That one doesn't ring a bell. Oh, it's Jerry Seinfeld. Debbie. From Jerry. Says FBI Atlanta chief called Paul Brown. Oh, I heard that from Amuse. Yeah, shout out to Amuse. Was he the leaker? He says he got that from Zero Hedge, but I didn't follow that up. I did see that come across. Shout out to Amuse. Amuse is amazing. Great person and account over on X at Amuse. Says FBI Atlanta chief Paul Brown warned Fulton County about a coming raid, but I thought Paul Brown was out. Wasn't that the guy who said the poll tape, P-O-L-E tape? I don't know. And even shared a list of items agents plan to seize. That's incredible. He was removed just before the warrant was executed. This is a compromised bureau. Wow. That's a great report. Thank you, Amuse. And thank you for sharing that. Debbie. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, because that was the guy. We read that letter. He wrote that ridiculous letter. I'd also like to come over and look at your poll tapes, P-O-L-E. This is an election. We have polls, P-O-L-L-L. Polls, not E. Then they nuked him. We have an acting person there. That feels like it's a crime. Is he allowed to do that? Don't think so. Hey, Super Buff Shaft in the house. What's up, Super Buff? Hey, they blocked anyone from getting ballots. Jovan Pulitzer was going to help audit them in Arizona. That proved mass violations. I remember we played some of his stuff here. It looked good. Yeah, it was, he was given briefings about, you could see like the folds, right? If you send if you send a ballot in the mail, it's got to get sent, then it's got to get sent back. And there's all sorts of handling and machines that it runs through to scan the address and all of that. And so you can tell, you can measure that. Oh yeah, this is an actual ballot. It actually went in the mail. And you can check on, creases and kind of the thickness of the paper. And he said, no, I looked at a bunch of them and there's none of that. They're just like printed right out with Joe Biden's name on them. Weren't sent anywhere. Ridiculous. Thank you, Super Buff, for the dono. Thanks for watching over on Rumble, too. Shout out to our Rumble friends. Good to see you over there. Hey, Sev Russ, the new look is awesome. Still snarky, but also awesome. Yeah, thank you. Basically, the reason for the change is sometimes we get like all this crap in here, right? Like when we're zoomed out, you see all of this other stuff, and it's just kind of like distracting. So we want to just keep it nice and tight, right there. Right there. Boom. Now we can see and not be distracted, and it looks a lot more beautiful. So thank you for that, Severus. We appreciate it. I'm always open to feedback, always trying to improve things. Thanks for letting me know what you think about it. Severus, thank you for that. Shout out to Deluxe Knight, man. Deluxe Knight in the house. Gifting 5 new membos over on the Rumbles. Shout out, Deluxe. Thank you for that. Pinot Shay's Helicopter Tours, the most exciting ride you've ever been on. Ryu G, we got Monica Palmer in the house, welcome. Vegas Oasis in the house, and Adelia also joining us, courtesy of Deluxe Knight. Thank you, Deluxe Knight, and welcome new Membo friends. Very nice to see you in the house. Hey, I'm an American man. Me too. Sun's out, ice is out. Yeah, it's a little bit different normally. Sun's out, guns out. Now it's sun's out, federal agents are out. Perfect. Love it. I'm an American man. Thanks for being a membo and sending that one in. We appreciate you. DP Bricker, newest membo. Welcome aboard, DP. Thank you for signing up and joining us. We had a great members only stream this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning to get into it again. Looking forward to seeing you there. James P, a federal takeover is better than a foreign takeover. Yeah, and I think their perspective is it's like a states' rights thing, and you can't intervene in rigged elections. Like, I guess if Fannie, Brian, McAfee, and Sterling all shove in an illegal senator, you just have to sit there and take it. No, that's not how it works at all. And we showed that in the Constitution today. We're guaranteed a Republican form of government, not a fraudulent form of government. Air Force vet, what's up? Thank you, sir, for the nice dono and for your service. Says Article 1 says shall be prescribed in each state. Is that for state reps or senators or federal reps and senators? So Article 1, are you talking about this part? Section 4. So let's read it. The time, place, and manner of holding elections shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature of the state. Okay, so Arizona, the legislature, not a judge, not a private litigant, not a secretary of state like Katie Hobbs. The state legislature, they can make the decision, oh, we need more ballot boxes. Oh, we need to do this or do that. They didn't. But that would be at the state level. But the Congress, now the main Congress, right, we're talking about the the federal Congress, may at any time by law pass statutes to alter those regulations, except for senators, which was modified later by the 17th Amendment. So let's go back to your comment and see if that answered it. Shall prescribe in each state. It's just for elections in general. Yeah, so for everybody. Then let's say they send in an invalid candidate, right? So they send in Ossoff. He's illegitimate. The Senate could reject him, right? The Senate could vote and say, no, we can't trust the Georgia election, and we judge the state's election. So the feds can also reject somebody incoming if they say that it was fraudulent. And so maybe that's something that could be invoked to expel them, really. We're now, people, we're asking this question here. It's come up many times, and I haven't had a really good answer, other than to attack it piecemeal, right? Use the auto pen, you invalidate Joe Biden to get rid of Ketanji. Use Article 1, Section 5, Clause 1 to encourage senators to expel Ossoff and Warnock because they were elected fraudulently and out of Fulton County, essentially. Boot them out of there would be one strategy. Maybe Mike Lee will do it. Hey, what's up, Mr. Magic Man? Thanks for the dono, Air Force vet. And again, for your service, we appreciate you. Mr. Magic Man, because McAfee was IG with knowledge of the fraud, why would he be excluded from testimony if his judgeship happened after his knowledge of the fraud? No, I'm not saying that he should be. I'm just saying it's a bigger deal to subpoena a judge, right? Like, you don't hear judges get subpoenaed almost ever because they're judges. They're like, you know, they'll turn around and say this is an attack on the judiciary, or you're trying to, you know, politically prosecute him or something. So I agree completely. Like, McAfee should absolutely be deposed. Congress should haul him in, or the Senate in Georgia should haul him in, ask what evidence he was presented, ask why he didn't recuse himself in the RICO case after receiving all of this evidence from Senator Perdue and even Brian Kemp confirming, oh yeah, there are inconsistencies out of his office. He should be a part of it. I'm just saying that the elevation to a judge versus an IG immunizes you. It gives you kind of this force field of, you know, power. But I don't give a crap. I think that the judges should be impeached and imprisoned, actually. I think if that was like a campaign message that I wanted to see out there, it'd be that. Like, if there was a candidate who's like, I'm running for Congress just to impeach the judges. I know I can't do it on my own, but that's all I'm going to talk about. I'd be like, yes, amazing. We need that. Just go do it, because they're stealing our representation from us. And they have to have a counterbalance, and we need that in Congress. We have some of it. There have been some impeachment, you know, mechanisms, but we need somebody in there every day just pounding the drum on this thing. Impeach the judges. Oh, yeah, hi, you know, Congressman, what do you think about the economy? Well, I think the economy would be much better. Currently, there's a lot going on, but it would be better if we impeach the judges, you know. Mr. Magic Man, good to see you. Sarah, what's up? Sarah Her in the house, 294, says, good afternoon. Gabe Sterling is not the Secretary of State here. He is the second in command. He is running for SOS, but he's just as bad as Raffensperger. Oh, did I screw that up? What did he say here? Oh, that's right. Okay, so he's Deputy Secretary of State. Okay, so he's number 2. So that's right. It's Raffensperger. He's number 2, and now he's running to be number 1. So thank you for the clarity on that. Sometimes I skip over some of those details, but thank you for that. Very good clarity. Sarah, really appreciate that. Don't want to be inaccurate, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah, just as bad as Raffensperger, and a liar too. Also, cutting out half the Constitution and saying, it's a federal takeover. You can't touch it. Yes, you can. Dork, it's on the second half of the same thing you just cited. Mrs. T. Rush, a lot of names coming out of me today. I got to calm down. Mrs. T. Rush, we shouldn't nationalize elections, just nationally enforce election laws for federal elections. Exactly. The executive branch can't execute the law as it relates to elections now. Like that, like Trump can't do that anymore. Who runs the elections then? Who enforces the federal law when it comes to elections? It's obviously the president. And Mark Elias doesn't like it because he doesn't like the president. Thank you, Mrs. T. Rush. Exactly right. And that's a good way to phrase it too. And the White House should really adopt that framing on it. No, you know, nationalize. We just meant enforce the laws. They're not following federal law, so we have to go in there and make sure they enforce it. It's the law. They don't like it. They can change the law. But Liberty Vet says, didn't Jim Crow 2.0 come out in 2021 in Georgia? I don't know. Jim Crow 2.0 in quotes. Is that something specific? Well, I mean, if you're like a white Republican, your ballot was probably not as worth as much as all of the other Joe Biden fraudulent ballots. So maybe it is discriminatory. Hey, this old guy says, I'm convinced that Mark Elias may have possibly cheated on his con law final exam. The executive enforces the law. Yeah, that's interesting. He definitely feels like a cheater to me, for sure, since he cheats on elections. So why wouldn't he cheat on his con law final? But I don't think Mark is all that dumb. Mark's a pretty sharp dude. And if we, you know, I'm not saying you're doing this old guy, but if we don't, you know, appreciate a proper measure of our opponents, then we'll be ill prepared to combat them. And Mark has a lot of money, a lot of funding. He's filed lawsuits all over the country and been very useful for their party. And that's why we need to develop our own counterbalance to democracy docket and all the things. And we're trying to contribute here. Thank you, this old guy. Appreciate that. But yeah, he's dishonest too. And it comes out and uses his, in my opinion, crimes as an accolade. I was Hillary Clinton's campaign lawyer. The whole thing was fraudulent. Anyways, T-Testes, what's up? Matthew Colangelo, anyone? Hello? Subpoena? Matthew Colangelo, hello? Yeah, and Matthew Colangelo was the number 3 at the DOJ who left the DOJ to go work with Alvin Bragg to prosecute Trump because Bragg is too dumb to do that on his own. So just like Nathan and Fannie were colluding with the Biden White House, Jack Smith, and the J6 committee, Colangelo just took all his files and just waltzed right into Alvin Bragg's office. This old guy, Jim Crow laws were a brainchild of the Democratic Party. Yeah, well, yeah, they also fought to keep the slaves, just like they do right now. This old guy, Schumer, is old enough that he was probably involved in passing Jim Crow laws originally. He just forgot. Yeah, remember when Joe Biden was doing the eulogy for Robert KKK Byrd? Remember that? Yeah. Then they're going to tell us we're racist while they import people that they can treat as like pseudo slaves in this subcategory of non-citizenship status, temporary forever. It's really inhumane. Diane K. Lacey, 9 months as a membo. Good to see you. Happy new baby to us. Says change the driver's license and the voter registration name at the same time. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know. Diane, for Kamala Harris or for Chuck Schumer, that's like 2 things. That's like a lot of work. And for their voters, they can't. So they'd rather just not do that and have about 1 million illegal aliens come in here and pervert our elections. What's up? Deluxe Night. Yeah, Jim Crow voter ID makes me laugh. 1, allowing illegals to vote in our elections based is racist to the black population. That is 12% of our population. It also disenfranchises all Americans' votes. 2, I just saw a video of Obama from 2012 getting ID'd while on his way in to vote. So what is the problem with voter ID again? You'll actually have to validate 1 person, 1 vote is probably the bigger issue. And you'll have a connection, like a 1-to-1 ratio. And if you don't have ID, then you don't have that. Everybody can vote 100 times because they're not validating it at all. So it's illegals, and it's probably the duplicate ballot problem that we saw in Fulton, where they're just registering ballots, registering addresses and shipping thousands of ballots out. Then they take time, they delay the count, then they go round up those ballots and steal the election. You see the big F little whoop. We go to bed. Trump's crushing. We wake up. Things reverse. Yeah, what's up? Call me legend. Hey, no comment other than congrats on the future baby news. Hey, speaking of babies, I just reached 9 months. By the way, you should call the child Legend. All right. That's not a bad name. Yeah, call him Legend or her Legend. And then maybe they'll be like famous rappers or something. Yeah, Legend Gouveia. It's not bad. It's not bad there. Call me Legend. All right. Not bad at all. Yeah, and thank you. We had a baby doctor appointment yesterday. All good. Got to hear that heartbeat again. Doctor putting the thing in there, you know, bouncing around. Wild times out there. Crazy. Call me Legend. We will. All right. Good to see you. Hey, what's up? Deluxe Night. Also, one of the Democrats' 10 conditions, we read through those this morning, is that ICE cannot be at voter polls. If illegals are not voting like they say, why would they even care if ICE was patrolling voter polls? Well, they say it's intimidation. They just don't want, I guess, the illegal alien population to feel like they can't go and be around the polls for whatever reason. Good to see you, Deluxe Night. Dan, what's up? Puerto Rico has been using Dominion since 2016. Now, prior, they used paper ballots and they hand counted them. Interesting. So Dominion, we had many, many Dominion machines all around America. Remember? Yeah, it's good. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. We're excited. Thank you for your excitement too. I really appreciate that. It's crazy. It's coming soon. Dan, hey, in Arizona, the ballots used for in-person voting early or on election day are created on demand using the Runback Centio ballot printing system. Yeah, and Runback, of course, is a third-party company. We had records battles with them in Arizona. Basically take all the ballots, send them over to them. They count them, give you a number. Hey, can we look in there? Can we get the cameras from your counting? No. Can we validate what you did? No, it's a private company. Oh, great. In Arizona. Call Me Legend It says, are you going to start a new show called Watching the Doctors? Watching the OBGYNs, that is? I don't know, maybe. Maybe we should. We have so many doctor's appointments. They're like, okay, you're coming back here and here and here. I'm like, that's like 3 days in a row. It's not really, but it's pretty close in time. I'm like, that's all. But we want a healthy baby, so we're following doctor's orders. But yeah, maybe we could do a show about it. Don't know anybody would watch, but thank you, Call Me Legend. We got Philip B. Yeah, remember Zuckerberg gave $400 million for votes? Yep. The CFCO, something like that, right? 400 million for ensuring democracy. Mark's something else, man. And then he goes and then like sits right next to Trump and he's like, hey, buddy. No integrity, right? Just fair weather friends all over the place. King of Biltong. Are you looking for real food? Try some Biltong, made with clean ingredients and done the right way. At Biltong USA, we don't make processed junk. Of course they don't. Check it out. BiltongUSA.com. Use code Robert and you'll save 10% off. Shout out to our friend, King of Biltong in the house. Hey, it's Oprah. You get a bagel. You get a bagel. You get a bagel. Where is John Brennan? Says Bagel Boy. Yeah, good question. Former CIA director who helped to create the Hunter Biden, all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation letter, was also there instigating and creating the Russia collusion hoax with Clapper, Obama, and Comey. That's a big one. Okay. We saw Tish get indicted. Charged. That's great. Comey, his case got dismissed. We definitely want that one back, but John Brennan, big problem. Thank you for that, Bagel Boy. Good to see you on Rumble. Christine Little, welcome aboard, our newest member. Thank you, Christine. Check out the stream from this morning. We talked about John Thune, SAVE Act. We talked about the polls, JD Vance, Trump's comment on NBC. It was a good stream. Thank you, Christine, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Woosha Games Central says there was a video of a county sheriff catching a Chinese guy who did not know any of the traffic signs. No, they don't. Yeah, I used to represent a lot of truckers. In Arizona, we have the I-40. Comes right through. Tons of our Arizona DPS just sit right up there. Lot of it around Seligman, Arizona, outside of Flagstaff. They sit there and they just capture people going to the Grand Canyon. And I represent we have criminal speeding, we have reckless driving. They arrest people on that road. Like they just take you to jail. And it's a lot of people coming to see the Grand Canyon. And we have a lot of people from China and a lot of people from India and these places don't speak a lick of English. It enrages the cops. And many of them go very fast, like 140. You get these Chinese people going $140 on the I-40. Cops are just outraged, right? That you go right to jail. Then they call like, they don't even speak English. They have somebody translate for them. Yeah, it's not good. Anyways, it's everywhere. It's not just CDLs. Hey, Rick D, Scott Bessent was added again today. Chris Van Hollen said, you suggested that Pretti was culpable. Would you like to retract? Amazing, Rick D. You're ahead of the class. We played that at the end from Scott Bessent. It was a good exchange. Yeah, and JD's was also good. For what? You want to apologize to his family? For what? For what? Apologize that he went there and obstructed federal agents and got himself killed? No, not going to apologize for that. Hey, Dark Road. We are the final destination because here is where all the money and opportunity is, of course. You're answering my question about all of the other countries. Why can't the Kyrgyzstanis pop off in Europe? Why can't the Ecuadorians pop off in Mexico? Why does everybody have to come here? It's a far trip. We talked about the police officer who got arrested in New Orleans for being an illegal alien that they gave a gun and a badge who came from Cameroon. Do you know where Cameroon is? I had to look that crap up. It's in Africa. How'd that guy get over here from Africa? Are we taking Disneyland fast passes, Uber trips? Yes, the answer is we are. I don't know why they would come here, though, because according to the people protecting them, we are racist and authoritarian. Yeah. But you can deal with a little bit of racism and authoritarianism if you also can start a Leering Center and steal a couple $100 million for your family. So it's kind of worth it. Dark Rogue, I would like to see tariff money be used to reopen and rebuild insane asylums. We have a severe mental health crisis in this country, being untreated and undiagnosed. Yeah, that's an interesting comment. Who would you put in there? I can think of a couple people. I think Maxine Waters would be a pretty good candidate right out of the gate. She's crazy. Anyways, yeah, mental health is a real thing, and it's not, our society's not really engineered to support that. With all of the social media, with all of the, news cycles, with all of the economic ups and downs and all of the conflict, we got to take care of ourselves. I encourage unplugging, spending time with friends, family, getting outside, all the things we talk about. Insane asylums. Yeah, I don't have much understanding of that, how it used to run, but I would have questions about, the process and things. We have some like involuntary committal rules in Arizona, but we do have a mental health problem. A lot of it, and mostly it's TDS. Maybe TDS asylums would be a good place to start. Hey, thank you, Dark Rogue, for a couple of nice donos and for being number 2 in the chat. We really appreciate you. Thanks for always the great comments and the support here. You're awesome. Cecil says, hey, Cecil, thanks for rating the stream. Shout out to our friend Cecil says over from Rumble, bringing some friends over. Nice to see you over here in the house. We appreciate you joining us. Hopefully we see you again. Mrs. T. Rush says, let's go back to the start. Everyone who is naughty has their hides tanned before all. That's interesting. Yeah, like you just pull their pants down, little booty smacks right there. You're bad. You're bad. Maybe if their parents had actually punished them. Little corporal punishment out there after due process and a lawful conviction. Then you switch their booties. And some of them have huge booties. Huge. Like, just think about Fanny and Tish. Like, oh my goodness, you're going to need like a palm tree. Hey, Gauntlet. Anti-ICE is just Antifa rebrand because of the FTO label, Foreign Terrorist Organization label. Yeah, I agree completely. And they should be treated as a domestic insurgency because they're operating. They've got politicians in there. It's not free speech. It's organized criminal obstruction. Thank you, Gauntlet, for the dono. Cliff, Rob, I have a license. Cliff Norman is here. I have a license to carry in Texas. When in the presence of law enforcement, you're expected to announce it, that you have your weapon and an LTC and show your ID, a license to carry. Pretti did not have an ID on his person and did not tell the agents he was armed. In Texas, you would lose your license to carry. Worse, 11 days before he viewed spitting on ICE agents, evading arrest, and damaging their vehicle as he was armed. Then he continues to stalk them. The whole thing's stupid. Totally right. Yeah, and he had a gun with him when he was kicking their car in and spitting hawking loogies at them, committing assault on federal agents. Like, man, he's lucky something didn't happen right there. He got lucky that he wasn't killed right there. By the grace of God, he got a chance. Wise up. You got your ribs hurt. You can't go attack federal officers. He didn't learn his lesson. He came back and did it again. And we saw what his MO was. And so you speculate that the MO is very much the same. And he was already obstructing. We saw that. We played the video, multiple angles. Thank you, Cliff. Good comment and good details. What's going on here on a boat? Hey, Sailboat. What's up, Sailboat? Good to see you. Thank you for the dono and for being a membo on the YouTubes. Hey, Rob, great job on this one. Man, thank you, Sailboat. Yeah, we had some good stories today. We like when they line up nicely like that. Thank you, Sailboat. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow as well. Tasadaka, what's up? Tasadaka is sharing this comment. Let me see what this is. What is this? Tasadaka. I haven't updated about Ben in some time. He wasn't able to do the trial. He was rushed into the hospital Thanksgiving. He was intubated and in medically induced coma for a week. He was released to a rehab after 3 weeks. Unfortunately, he was rushed into a hospital less than a week later. He was in ICU for a week, then moved to oncology. He's getting stronger, but he hasn't had any treatment for cancer and is in a great deal of pain, primarily with his skin. Oh my goodness. So Tasadaka, I'm so sorry to hear about this. And you shared a photo. I'll share this just so you guys can say some prayers for this man. His name is Ben, and he could use some prayers. He's in a great deal of pain, skin cancer. It's a pretty rough photo, but Ben, we're praying for you, man. And to Sadaka, I'm not sure what your connection is to Ben or what your relationship is, but man, I hope he gets well soon. Thank you for sharing that. Kurt, and prayers up for Ben. May he get well soon. Curtis Bartle, what's up? 43 months, Curtis? That's a long time. Did ICE put I'm Antifa hoodie on him? LOL. I don't know. I didn't even think about that. I doubt it. I guess he probably was just proud of it and was putting it on himself because he's so proud of it. And he's got a lot of followers, probably making some good money with those rants. Don't know what platform he was on, but he got a lot of energy. And now not. Now he's in jail. Hey, Real with Robo, what's going on? Hey, congrats on the baby. You two will be great parents. Thank you, Real with Robo. We hope so. Yeah, we don't really know anything about it, but we had good parents. We had good love in our lives and, you know, amazing people. And we know that we're going to get tremendous advice from you. So thank you for that. Real with Robo. Thanks for being here for 23 months too. Long time, man. We've been through some stuff together. Dark Rogue. Hey, Dark Rogue. 20 friends, man. Thank you, Dark Rogue. Super generous. Very grateful. El Poppy, USA, welcome. Dan B. Sue Evans, Bane Bear, welcome. Reby Ann, Rebecca Ann, joining us. Rob Kane. We got Mo Stowe Stube here. Jay Brass, Anthony, Lily Smith, Robert Frumming is here. Sean Tilton, what's up, God willing? He is. Vic Illitron in the house. Daniel Collins, Steph BR, Jenny Hamilton, Tim Drozinski, welcome. Kaylee, and the Dahlia Lost in the house, courtesy of Dark Rogue OG in the house. Thanks again, Dark Rogue. Welcome, new Membo friends. We'll see you in the morning on the members only stream. Oh, who's this here? Poking through the window. D.P. Bricker says to Schumer, voter ID is equal to Jim Crow. Yeah. So does that mean getting a driver's license is like a Jim Crow law? Does that mean showing your ID to get on an airplane is a Jim Crow law? Does that mean showing your ID to buy alcohol is a Jim Crow law? Obviously not. It's just standard, regular governance, but they hate it. Hey, what's going on, Mr. Don? Yeah, guarantee a Republican government. Yeah, so no Democrats. Yeah, that's one way to interpret it. No, the Constitution says the Democrats literally can't win. It's in the Constitution. Go read it. So you lose, we win forever. Rick D. Rob, not going to comment or describe what this is about, but it was not on my Olympics scandal bingo card. Do you see that URL right there? I'm scared to even scroll down. What? What is this? Wow, this is an interesting story. Olympic ski jumpers are reportedly juicing their wieners for bigger jumps. With like what? Helium or something? Does it lift for like lift? Wouldn't that create a little more drag? I don't know. Rick, why are you researching this? What's going on over there? You going to go join the Olympics? Hey, what's happening? Good to see you. Hey, we got more Dark Rogue, man. Thank you, Dark. Okay, Tasadaka. Yeah, Ben is my husband. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry, Tasadaka. That's terrible. We're praying for your husband. Shout out to Ben. Prayers up. He has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma called Sézary syndrome. Man. Yeah, thanks for the clarity. Okay, I wasn't sure who we were looking at or what we were talking about, which is why I was kind of hesitating. And, it's he doesn't look good, right? And so I think that can be, it can be uncomfortable for people to see stuff like that. But we're all human beings. We have to share our humanity, share our love, and share our prayers. And we're going to do that for Ben. Thank you to Sadaka. You're an amazing wife. Prayers up for Ben. Dark Rogue, I heard an interview of a warden of a max security prison in my state in 2018. Back then, it cost taxpayers $80,000 per prisoner, and over 75% of the inmates had drug addictions and mental issues that required treatment. Was that in 2025? Yeah, that is true. Like addictions and drugs and mental health issues. There's rehabs, there's alternative programs. I used to speak at a lot of those places in Arizona when I was practicing. And, I've got close proximity to addiction. It's, I'm a recovered alcoholic. My brother's dead as a result of a lot of this stuff. So it's an issue that hits close to home, no doubt about it. And I will absolutely say this, that the prisons and the jails and the criminal justice system is very exploitative. And nobody cares about the prisoners. Did you see the story about Fani Willis? Her jails? People are still dying and rotting away in her jails. And that's not appropriate, right? You don't deserve a death. Like if you didn't get convicted of a death sentence, then you don't deserve to be eaten alive by bedbugs in a Fani Willis jail. So I worry about some of that, like the mental health people too. Mental health is such a problem. People can throw their feces at you and stuff, and nobody wants anything to do with them. So I just wonder about the humanitarianism there. And our government is pretty terrible at running prisons, and they outsource it to third-party companies. They just get rich and they exploit the prisoners, and everybody's getting abused everywhere. So I don't know how comfortable I am putting people who didn't commit crimes but just have addictions or mental health issues in a government facility. But maybe, there's a place for maybe more government funding of churches or something, right? And we can bring that more back at a community level. But it's very interesting, Dark Road, and it's probably going to get worse. And if we have robots and automation and people lose their sense of purpose, it's going to get way worse. Thank you to Sadaka for that. And Off-Label, Off-Label Podcast right next door says, we've covered the Antifa guy. He likes to pretend to be a woman. Oh. I saw some of those photos scrolling around on X. I can't even tell if they're real because they look like such freaks. I'm like, is that AI or is he just really just a freak like that? Turns out it's not AI. All right, my friends. So thank you so much for those donos and those great comments. Some really good stuff in there. And we appreciate your support on the day. And prayers up for Ben once again. We will take a look at some comments on X. Then we'll call it a day. Of course, though, we'll be back tomorrow to get into it again. Hey, Satellite Boy, thanks for the feedback. And Neuro D over on X. Let's get this properly situated over here. Remembering where my new buttons are. Neuro D, don't forget to come over to Locals. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We got great members-only morning streams. We'd love to see you over there. Hey, Satellite Boy says, new format looks great. Thank you, Satellite Boy. Yeah, we may make some adjustments and, maybe lower the brightness of the yellow a little bit. I don't know. Thank you, Satellite Boy. We appreciate the feedback. We're trying to improve. Schumer practiced his right to screech and self-defeat because hyperbole, hysteria, hypocrisy, and lying are four things politicians do well. They spew the first three to suit their needs, the fourth only after they forget that they abused the first three. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a great quote. Be torn? That's a great quote. Hyperbole, hysteria, hypocrisy, and lying are four things politicians do well. They spew the first three to suit their needs, the fourth, lying, only after they forgot that they abused the first three. That's profound there. That's some good stuff right there. Should be like in a book or something. Yeah, Satellite Boy. Yeah, this story. Surprised you're not going wall to wall with Nancy Guthrie. I saw that, man. Yeah, new info's coming out every few minutes. Yeah, I have been slightly paying attention to that story, but apparently, yeah, we may come back on that tomorrow. I think it was, I don't know that there was really much in, that was solidified, right? Like they just, I think that like there was a deadline about a 5 p.m. ransom or something like that. Horrific. Prayers up for her mom, man. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but thank you, Satellite Boy. Yeah, that's a big story, especially out of Arizona. Hey, TJ King. Funny how Mark Elias is now saying feds have nothing to do with federal elections and also said the hush money case could prosecute Trump in a hush money case based on an FEC, even though the FEC dropped the investigation. So even federal law can only be used by a state prosecutor. Yeah, TJ, it's basically whatever Mark wants in order to win the election. That's his main focus. Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's our real good boy, Axel Boy, right there in the house. What a handsome pup he is. That's our boy over here. And I tried to bring him up on camera to just say a little something into the mic one day. Will you just say something? They want to hear from you. They're waiting. And he said no. He wussed out. But, you know, he's a little shy, a little nervous. He's actually not shy at all until he gets on camera. I'm like, just come, he'll come up on you if he's not supposed to, but he'll come up on you. But when the camera's on, where you at, boy? You in here? No, he's not in here. All right, so thank you for that. Such a good photo. He's handsome. Hey, what's going on? A couple other comments got dropped as we round it out, man. Thank you for these, my friends. Elk Plow. Yeah, it's all well and good. However, people need jail for at least sedition, seditious treason, and treason. 202P wasn't fair, safe, or even real. 2020. Yeah, no, the whole country was in just like a rigged state. You couldn't even open your business to the public in America. Home of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave, right? No, your sniffles might kill someone. Okay, well, you stay home. You don't have to come to my business. Stay home. No, you have to lock it down too, because you'll kill someone. And then we have to change all the elections and blah, blah, blah. It was a scam, total scam. We got rigged. Boopsy, Rob, you do incredible work. Thank you, Boopsy. Thank you. I would give you big donos if I could. Boopsy, just the fact that you're here is a million times more than anything I could ever possibly want. Boopsy, very glad to have you here. You're a great part of our community. We love your donos. All donos. We love all donos the same. Rubos, dono for prayer for Ben. Dono for prayer for Ben. Thank you, Rubos. And the Rubos have great prayers. And so if they're praying for Ben, man, it's going to ring a bell up there. No doubt about it. Thank you, Rubos. And my friends, thanks for sending those in. We had a great time here. Let's take a look at some locals comments. See if we have anything percolating over there. And we do. A couple of comments. Miss Lucky, what's up? Good to see you. Sergeant Bob says, I am sure if the feds go to Cook County, they will find it worse in, Illinois, Chicago. Yeah, this goes back 100 years, all the way back to Richard Daley, the machine of the 50s and before. Cook has historically been corrupt, including a ton of judges. Yeah, I mean, Minnesota, just as a matter of scale, like size and scale, compared to New York and California, in Illinois, it's got to be hundreds of billions, trillions over generations that were stolen from them. Rob, did I hear this correctly? That the cribs of the children can be used as a UPS voter registration site? How many children can be registered in a crib that can hold 3 children? That's a complicated little riddle there, the veil. Is that 3,300,033? That's a great question. Don't think you can register kids to vote. Got to be a certain age, but math checks out, definitely. Hey, what's up? Crazy KPM says communist horde equals the Democratic Party and its Republican members, or vice versa. Yeah, they're basically one and the same, and they call themselves different things. Like the climate changers, whatever. They're all commies. Hey, Sergeant Bob, putting hands on ICE or any law enforcement officer will not end well for the aggressor. Ends way worse if you have a gun, because now you instantly become a threat. Rob, so it seems to be all right for the Black Panthers to be at the polling locations in 16. Remember that? I do remember that, yeah. Did they have guns, or were those just like pipes? They had something, right? Sadie, I do remember that. And they were saying that wasn't a big deal. Hey, the Rubos. We got a prayer in the house. I think this is for Ben. Let's read it. I now apply the blood of Yeshua in, over, and through. Baptize with the Holy Ghost and fire. Anoint with the breaker anointing. Release the rivers of living waters into, and bless and favor with more blessings and favor than there are stars in the heavens and sands on the seashore. Every inch of Ben's physical body, over every inch of his soul and over every inch of his spirit. And Ben now receives the cleansing, purifying, healing, clearing, shielding, protecting, redeeming, saving power of the blood. And every inch of his physical body, soul, and spirit are healed and made whole by the blood of Yeshua. The baptism of the Holy Ghost and fire, the breaker anointing, the river of living waters, and the multiplication of blessings and favor, more numerous than the stars in heaven and the sands on the seashore. Ben receives it now. Amen. From the Rubos. Man, prayers up for Ben. Rubos, thank you for the time, taking the time to share that with us and with Ben and with Tasadaka. Lots of love and healing going over there. Tasadaka, thanks for sharing that with us. And I hope you are feeling and knowing that we're thinking of you guys and sending our love. Rubos, thank you again. All right, so my friends, we'll wrap there. Dan, sanctuary states can revert to territorial status. Yeah, I mean, if they don't want to honor federal law, then why should they get all of the benefits of being in the federal government? Rubos, check the comments. Thank you, Rubos. Great comment and great prayer. We appreciate it. Good way to wrap it up. And my friends, it's been a great stream. Tomorrow is going to be Friday. We're excited about that. And we are coming back to get into it again. And we're going to hope to see you there to do it appropriately. Before we wrap on the day, big thanks to our amazing mods and meme smiths, including Donut Mind Me. We got John in the house, Muffin Rando modding the fort down for us, K-Bean, of course, Carrie B. We got John. Don't forget Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, and our friends Gigum, Elliot, and Just Rhonda, all in the house. Great to have you here. Cliff says, Rob, how can we tell how many months we've been members? I just renewed. Yeah, that's a good question. I think if you check your profile, let me see if I can just check real quick. Rubo's amazing. Cliff, let me check. If I click the link, member since September 6, 2022. Cliff in the house, man. What a handsome gentleman, too, to boot. Man, thank you for being here for so long. We've been through some stuff together, Cliff. No doubt about it. Much more to come. Thanks for renewing. Thanks for hanging with us, making our community what it is. We appreciate you. What a lovely day. All right, my friends, we'll wrap here. I hope that your night and your rest and your dreams are pleasant and beautiful. And I hope that you come back here tomorrow to join us because we are getting into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news.